Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Get Off the Damn Fence. We are here for another week talking all the latest in sports and entertainment. And I'm joined, as I am each and every week, by co-host Calvin Thomas. What's going on, Calvin? How you feeling tonight, brother?
What's going on? Another Tuesday. What's going on with you?
It's another week, man. Lots been going on. And of course, by Justin Harris. What's happening, Justin? B.A. the Barber.
Can't talk without the mic.
You're right. You're right. That would be helpful. But it's a big week for you, so we know you got a lot going on, a lot of other things on your mind.
That's
So
facts. That's facts. Those that
lot.
don't know, I am getting married Saturday, so my week's been very hectic. But I appreciate the love on that. So yeah, we're good. I'm good.
Yeah, but we got a big show for us to line up tonight. We are in the heat of football season. It's coming. Preseason is deep into it. Upcoming third week of the preseason, which used to be 4 weeks, but now 3 weeks. This is the dress rehearsal before the big game coming up. But they do give each team a bye that fourth week, so we will have a week in between. We'll get those final cuts and all that. So we're gonna get into a lot of football in this show. But before we do get into that, we do have a special guest that's going to be joining us tonight in our first segment. And you see the slide on the screen, and it's really a program that Justin is near and dear to your heart, a good friend of yours, who we're going to bring on, allow you to introduce, give a little bit more feedback on. So without further ado, let's bring him in right now. Go on, Justin. Introduce us to the guest of the hour.
This is my fellow co-worker, well, not fellow, but he's a master barber at Conscious Heads. This dude's name is Ricardo. We both completed 75 Hard Challenge. You can Google that if you like. And he took it one step further and created his own program in which I had no choice but to support. It's called 5400. I tried to tell him to come up with a more catchy name, but we won't stick with 5400. I'm going to let the brother go ahead on and explain what he came up with.
Yeah, I wanted to come up with something that wasn't as physically taxing as the 75 Hard program, because that's like 2 workouts a day and one of them got to be outside. So I figure if I start something like this, it might be a little more better for people to participate in. And the everything's right there: walk, run, 5K, read 10 pages a day of a personal development book. Give up at least one vice. I mean, you can disclose it or you keep it between you and God. A minimum of 14-hour fast and 1 gallon of water, but it's for 100 days, not like the 75 Hard, which was 75 days. I figured since it wasn't as physically taxing, maybe I could add the tax on the longevity of it.
Oh, that sounds great. So how did you do with the previous challenge, and what made you decide this was be something you were ready for at this moment?
I did good on 75 Hard. Justin, he started, I think, 10 days before me.
Yeah,
so he was kind of like my motivation to keep. We both was kind of feeding off each other, I would say.
Okay.
But seeing him getting a head start on me just led me to be like, I'm gonna make sure I see it through as well. But it was some things that I got out of it. Just, I would say psychologically, as far as like being committed to something, whether you feel like doing it or not. A lot of times we all struggle with like not having discipline when it comes to certain things. So after completing it, it's obviously some time it went by, you kind of fall off on that discipline. I'm like, man, I need to do something else, but maybe not quite the 75 Hard, but just something that I can focus on and lock in for a length of time, that'll keep me focused. So I decided to come up with my own, and that's what led me to do this.
So what part of your 5400 program do you feel as though is the hardest? So after completing 75 Hard, is this just all, at this point, just all part of your routine, so it's just all second nature to do?
Well, with the 75 Hard, it was the 2 workouts a day. I don't say I fell off. I was still working out like 4 days a week. So, when it's busy at the shop, I wasn't doing it. So, and it was, how can I put it? The pages, I would do 5 here and there, but I was pretty much an avid reader before the 75 Hard. those were the two, and the gallon of water. That was the things that I brought from the 75 hard. The only thing different is the fast, giving up the vice, and the walk or run, which I mean you could say that will count as one workout with the 75 hard. But yeah, I just wanted to do something even on those days that I will still be busy, but not as strenuous to the point where like I gotta rearrange my whole day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so one more time, just for people who might be joining the live a little late, explain exactly. Say they wanted to join in starting tomorrow. What would be the process they should take on first, and what would you need to do to complete your day?
Well, really, you want to map out, because obviously there's a 14-hour fast involved. So, I mean, remember when the last time you ate, so that way you can know when the next time you can eat with the 14-hour fast. With your water, I mean, depending on how your work schedule is and where you work and how you do your work or whatever, make sure you get your water in. Me, I do my reading early in the morning. I try to wake up earlier before I start my day, but depending on it's really all depending on a person's schedule. I would say, knowing your schedule, try to schedule the tasks in the best way you can and stick to them when the time comes for you to do them. Okay. That's pretty much how I was able to be successful.
I like that. I like it. Justin, so you had one day today, right? So what did your day look like?
So I did it yesterday. My first day was yesterday, so we started the same day. So we should be finishing the same time this time around. And yeah, it was tough because he was a little bit more dedicated in between the two I guess commitments other than me. I kind of let myself go a little bit. So I had to get back on it. Pause. So to me, the hardest thing for me was the walking, really, because you really don't know how much 3 miles is until you start kind of getting into it. But this brother, walking is his second nature. He just does that at least 8 hours a day. So, yeah, it was a bit difficult, but getting through that, like I said, I was rushing coming in just now because I was just finishing up the second day for me. So, gotcha. That's pretty much it's hard, but it's easy at the same time. It's simple, I should say. And I just wanted to ask Carter, what book did you choose?
The Obstacle is the Way. Ryan Holiday. It's basically like some new age stoicism type stuff.
Bet. The book that I chose was Get Out Your Own Way. By Mark Goldstein and Philip Goldberg. Basically, it's a book about 170 some odd pages, just about having pitfalls and self-defeated moments and how to get over that, in which a lot of people can definitely attest to. So that's when we say about read 10 pages of a personal development book, that's the type of stuff that we're talking about to make yourself better, to make you a better person. And yeah, just make sure you knock that out every day.
Perfect. That's what's up. I think this is phenomenal, and it's something that I definitely want to give it. I already know the walking part is with people busy schedule, but hey, I need to do more walking, and I'm going to commit to this right here. You hear me? Right here, to Get Off the Damn Fence audience. You heard me say it. I'm committing to this starting like next. Let me think.
You're not doing it just because you're not right there. Yeah.
No. I gotta map it out. You heard the man said it.
He did. He did say that.
He did.
Map it out. Don't just jump right in and you faking it. You gotta make sure that you. I got a wedding to attend this weekend. I'm Hershey Park tomorrow. I'm gonna do a lot of walking tomorrow. So
I'm about to say, you got a good shot at Hershey Park to get.
You're right. You're right. This might be all right. All right, but I love it, man. Any final questions? Justin, Calvin, any more questions you got?
No, you inspired me to just try to start and get on the wagon. I mean, the hardest thing for me is going to be to have to put down is this personal development book. I'm studying for a CFE right now, so that's taking up all my personal reading time right there. But it's something I gotta get into. That's something I gotta do.
You read the Bible, sir? You can do that.
Yes.
10 pages out of that.
It's between you and God.
I'm just saying.
You're right. You're right. That's a good one. But I felt like it's something I wanted to do, something new. I felt like that would be more of a challenge.
Oh, so you know the Bible by heart?
I
It's a
don't.
lot of pages.
I don't.
Okay.
But I'm saying if you've read it before, can you say that you
I'm
want to
just
reach out and read a new book? You just being. I want to.
All right.
I know what you're trying to do.
Now give us one last pitch. Let the people know why they should pick this challenge up, why you chose it, and why you think this is great, something that everybody could do for the next 100.
Well, there's a quote by Jim Rohn, I think, and it says a person's success will never exceed their level of personal development. And a lot of times we lack on the personal development. We'll work hard at our jobs, we'll work hard with our families, but we a lot of times overlook working hard on ourselves. And I think that alone should be more than enough reason for somebody to want to invest some time in themselves to really it's a confidence builder as well. You know what I'm saying? Because if you could commit to doing these 5 things for 100 days straight, you'll realize that how much you've been BSing yourself throughout your life with your commitments and things like that. So it'll do something for you, for your psyche, if nothing else, outside of the physical. You know, that's the icing on the cake, in my opinion. But just how you'll feel about yourself when it's over is definitely, you can't put a price on it.
That's what's up, man. That's perfect, man. We would appreciate you coming on. And Justin, any final words?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, definitely,
Oh, yeah,
man.
definitely.
This is phenomenal.
Nah. Just appreciated that. At least we have our little platform that's growing to put my man on and really let other people see what he really talking about, because this is all him. He literally created all this, and I appreciate him for doing so.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
You ain't gonna get too many more positive words. Let's just cut that out right there. Let's just that's it.
Just from you.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on, brother. This was phenomenal, and I'm definitely, a lot of people might not be on live, but once this thing gets out there, it gets around. So this word is going to spread. So definitely going to share it. And me personally, I was in the hospital not long ago, and this is something that really could help me get back on track where I need to be. Things happen in life, but this, like you say, if you can focus and rebuild yourself, and what's more important than the time you put in yourself, you put time in work, put time into everything else, you put time in our own personal health and things of that nature. So this is great, man. I love it. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate for having me, man.
All right, you have a good one now, brother.
Too.
All right, great job. Thanks for bringing on Ricardo. You say you called him Cardo, Justin?
Yeah.
We gotta have a progress check, especially in this 100 days. It's about the end of the year at that point, right?
Yeah.
Strong way to finish the year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so be very into the December. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But let's get into the portion of the night that most people tune in to watch. But I thought that was very good to show the audience that we're not just here to talk, bullshit on each other and go back and forth over football and stuff like that. We got some real stuff too that we could talk about. So
y'all did a great interview session too, man. I was actually pleasantly surprised at the questions.
I went to school for journalism. I mean, it's in me a little bit. All right, so
back out.
Let's get into some NFL, man, because this is vastly, as I said at the open, we in the heat of preseason. The final game, the dress rehearsal game, is coming up this weekend. A lot of things are happening. A lot of trades that a lot of people thought would be going down have not taken place. And Brandon Ayuk still is a 49er.
Still don't have no contract.
You see CeeDee Lamb still doesn't have a contract. A lot of these open-ended questions have not been answered. So we got some things we can touch on. But one thing that I found interesting is as a point we can start off tonight is something that happened this past week, and I found very interesting as far as Tua Tagovailoa was in an interview with Dan Le Batard, and Dan is a Miami guy, so of course he gets access to some guys in Miami. And Tua felt like that was the most comfortable I've ever seen Tua in an interview. Looked like he let his head down, was very candid, and Dan basically asked him about his relationship with Brian Flores. And Tua, hey, he ain't cut no cards. He kept it real. He said, "Look, if a man tell you every day that you ain't no good, he don't want you, that you not gonna be nothing, that you wanted somebody else, and he just have no confidence in you, and you go to bed wondering, what am I doing? Da 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 da. And you lose all the confidence in yourself. But then another coach comes in, empowers you, allows you to flourish in the system, do what you do best, utilize the weapons that you have, show your skills at the highest you can. What is there to talk about here? Brian Flores tried to ruin Tua's career. That's exactly what happened. And I'm glad Tua called that crap out, man. That was so refreshing to see. Everybody's been looking at Flores like he's the victim for the last couple of years. And I'm not saying that he was treated completely fair by the Dolphins. I'm not saying that. But clearly there was more going on behind the scenes that was either ignored, because if you look at the reporting by the gentleman from ESPN, I believe is Jeff Darlington, he said he reported at the time that it was a clash between how Flores' coaching style was and what the team really needed. And it wasn't just Tua who had a problem with it. He took that brass system that he got in New England because he was under Coach Belichick and took it down to Miami, and it didn't work down there with that team. And I found it extremely refreshing that Tua did not hold back and told the truth about the situation for once. Calvin, I see you squirming. I see you getting mad over there. I know you hate Tua. Tell me why y'all wrong. Tell me why Tua's a crybaby or whatever. Go ahead, say it.
Look, I don't hate Tua. I just tell it like it is. I get off the damn fence. I have my opinion.
Here we go.
You're not going to sit here and tell me that whatever Brian Flores said was tougher than what Nick Saban said at Alabama when he knew his job was on the line week to week when he was with Jalen Hurts.
There's a difference between Nick Saban and Brian Flores.
You had your piece.
Go ahead.
You had your piece. A wise man, a very good friend of mine once said, pardon my French, if you feel like a bitch and you need a safe word, let me know. And it sounds like Tua needed a safe word in this conversation when talking to Brian Flores on a regular. Your number one, your first round draft pick, the man supposed to lead your franchise, is hurt because the coach didn't pump him up or didn't build him up or didn't give him words of affirmation as he needed to build his stature. Is this what we're coming to in football? We're going to talk about Tom Brady and his thoughts about the league getting soft later, but this is a prime example. Do you need this in order to be a better football player? Those words didn't inspire you to get out there and work harder and be better for yourself and to prove him wrong. And this is the route that you take. You have this conversation with your former coach while he's on another team 2 years later? 3 years later? Is this the type of person that Tua is? Is the type of quarterback that he is? Is the type of leader that he is? And you're supposed to go in his locker room, look him eye to eye, and say, if I have disagreement with this man, he's going to come back 2 years later and talk about me in an interview because he got paid, because he feels empowered now? Come on.
Did you listen to the interview? That's not how it went down. That is not how it went down.
No. He was asked a question. He answered the question. That's perfectly fine. But there's a better way to answer that question without having Brian Flores on the defense.
Why was he asked the question?
Coordinator in Minnesota. Say what?
Why was he asked the question? Because it was already known that was the issue, and Tua never spoke.
Okay, you didn't have to. But my point is, you can answer that question and say we had disagreements, we didn't agree, but he's moved on, and I moved on as well. You don't have to air out dirty laundry and the way to have this man
dirty laundry?
Himself.
Who is he got to protect?
Dirty laundry.
Why you got to protect that man? He don't owe Brian Flores nothing because
I'm not saying he owes him anything, but it's the perception of how Tua looks now, in my opinion.
How he look? He looked like a man that he stood up for himself finally and told it like it is.
It took 3 years for you to stand up for yourself.
Hey, he told the truth. It was already widely known in the Miami area that that's what happened.
Okay,
and it was
it's widely known.
It's
widely known. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to come out here and confirm it
Hold up.
How is this to better
yourself? How many other athletes have we
up?
seen speak on these type of things in the past, and they've been applauded for standing up for themselves? You're normally the person. I'm player first. Now you're gonna go with the coaching organization? Covering up stuff.
I'm not saying what he did was right.
I'm
saying the way he responded to it was not right.
He was responding like he should have responded 2 years ago. Go ahead.
So with all that being said, it's some things that we have to add to the picture.
Okay.
When the new coach took over, did Tyreek come with him? Tyreek Hill, right? He's 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That's a significant upgrade. Did he have A-Chain? Did he have
Waddle?
Raheem?
Nope.
No, he didn't have none of that. So are we 100% sure if you take away said weapons, is he going to revert back to the old tool?
But I don't think that was the question.
Is it based off new new coach, new weapons. Amazing how that works out when you get like the
that's the same. That's the same argument that Stephen A. and them tried to make. That had nothing to do. That has nothing to do with the question. The question was, is Tua in the wrong for speaking up against how Flores treated him? That have nothing to do with his play on the field. He wasn't even terrible.
It's the problem. It's the way that the problem happened.
Shouldn't even been there. We're not going to forget that. That's not
what does that have to do with anything.
He wanted Urban.
Guess who wanted him?
That's true.
Guess who wanted him?
With somebody who you think as a coach does not have what it takes to be a real.
Is the coach the GM?
If you know,
is the coach the owner?
This guy does not have what it takes to be a real NFL quarterback. That's what you're thinking. Then I'm gonna make his life a living hell to prove that I was right.
Well, look, and guess where he at now?
Hey, that is something totally different. Those are two different things.
You think so? You think they're not linked?
What has Miami done since he left?
You have
been in the playoffs.
No division title.
Been in the playoffs. Where's he been since he left? Did they do anything with him?
Different issues.
Ain't no different issues. You're trying to say he has him. Did Tyreek come with him? That's not the question. The question was, did this man try to make his life a living hell as the head coach because he never wanted him?
Live in hell?
He tried to. He said he demoralized.
Okay, based off his
listen to Tua's comments. That's all we responded to.
You can only allow someone to do something to you. Like that's on Tua.
Well, I don't think that. I think there's a reason Flores was let go. In many ways, it had something to do with
because he wasn't an offensive coordinator. He didn't develop the quarterback that he didn't want.
So if you're not even an offensive-minded coach, why the hell what you got to do with Tua? Who was his offensive coordinator? Who was his offensive coordinator? He decided to put Ryan Fitzpatrick. Keep going back to Ryan Fitzpatrick, pulling Tua in the fourth quarter. He's a rookie. Let the man learn.
Didn't he pull him for not throwing deep passes as well? So obviously they didn't believe in his ability to throw deep balls as well.
Okay, like you just said, did Tyreek come with him? Who was down there? He was throwing. Who's expected to throw it to that first year?
You still throw it out there. Everybody was afraid. He knew that he didn't have an arm, so he had.
Go back and look at his numbers. They were respectable for any other rookie.
He was a deep threat 2-3 years ago.
I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm saying that the team took a significant fall back when Tua was off of the field compared to when he was on the field. Now, Ryan had some magic in the fourth. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to disrespect Ryan Fitzpatrick. My point was to try to say that you thought that he coached that man fairly because he believed in him like any other coach who would coach a player who's they're supposed to be developing because you never wanted him. He proved that he never wanted him. I wanted Justin Herbert. Well, if you were the coach and the GM and you got to buy the groceries and coach the team, you could do that. But clearly, his stubbornness, his ability not to adjust is the reason why he's not a head coach right now in the NFL.
That's not the main reason.
What do you think is the main reason then?
All the other stuff that was talking about him, how he felt like he was colluded against.
Yeah.
Why do you think he was colluded against?
When people start to talk bad about you, and all you're doing is learning from the person you're teaching the way you was taught, what's the problem?
So if the word got around that you destroyed the team because a lot of the players felt that way, not just Tua. That's the story. If that's what I'm saying, everybody just keep getting caught on these headlines about Tua, but it was more to this. That team was kind of like they didn't respect him. Also. They were playing defense, but there's two sides to the football.
That is true.
And then what team this day and age wins the Super Bowl with just defense? And that defense wasn't that good to be even considered even that. So that's not
good
even
enough to beat New England in the end of their run.
In the playoffs?
In the regular season. They didn't make the playoffs during the time. We said that. We've established that.
All right. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here?
We're talking about Tua.
You said the reason why Flores didn't get another job.
We're talking about how
the reason why Flores didn't get another job and he was colluded against. And why was he colluded against?
He said that, and then he went to Pittsburgh on the strength of Mike Tomlin, who gave him a shot after his collusion suit. We've seen that. We know that for a fact.
All right, so why he still don't have a job?
And now we know how Tua reacts to conflict.
I'm talking about a head coaching position because he's not a head coaching material, clearly, because he don't know how to cut his head and play the and look, if I got a young development quarterback, we're going to talk about, like you said, with the Tom Brady situation. You have to adjust. Like Shannon said, you don't coach every player the same. You don't go in there and say, this is my This is how I do things, and that's the way it's going to be. No,
I
you were that.
guarantee you, I'm willing to bet money Tua never had the fortitude to walk up to him and said, "Don't talk to me like that." I guarantee he never did it.
Well, probably because he was
he's
raised
soft.
in a military family,
Because he was soft.
and you follow
Mhm.
orders and you go along with it. Nick Saban was his college coach. You think he went up to Nick Saban and said, "Coach Saban, that don't work for me"? No, you follow orders. But if a guy, like he said, listen to what the man said in the
This is
interview.
the first time. This is the first time he experienced conflict in college. He was the one that came in for Jalen Hurts.
He
was
still
the
was
starter
hurt.
to save the day for Jalen Hurts. So it wasn't the same situation as it was in Miami. In
He got
Miami, he
hurt.
had someone who was actively didn't think he was that good, and we see how he reacted.
He
and
got hurt.
and what it took. So we're gonna blame him on him getting hurt.
He didn't get hurt in college.
You talking about college or Miami? This is two different situations.
We're talking about college. You say he never faced adversity in college.
His job.
He did. He faced adversity in college. He got hurt. What are you talking about? He came in a national title game the 1 year, but the second year,
So-
Hurts came back in because Tua got
So
hurt.
you had enough fortitude. You say he's Army bred and all these other military bred and all these things. Had a strict coach in Nick Saban, and yet he says all this stuff after Brian left.
2 years, 3 years. He let it
Why
go.
not just say it right
He was
then and there?
asked the question.
If you had
he
enough
answered the
fortitude, you
question.
just say it.
And he clearly said it before and nobody was listening because
No.
clearly Jeff
He didn't say it
Darlington
before.
reported on it during the pandemic. It wasn't the most important thing going on at the time, but Jeff Darlington reported on it. He talked about it the other day on Get Up Again. They pulled his clips. They like, yeah, don't you remember this? They played it on the air. Like, so it's not like
If
it
that
was
was the
new.
case, he should have continued to sneak this and use anonymous quotes. If that was,
Why
if
would he
that was
need
how
to do
wanted
all that? They
He
fired
did
the
it
guy.
before. Was his name ever attached to a quote before this interview?
They fired him. He moved on with his life.
Was Tua's name attached to a quote that spoke against Brian Flores prior to a couple of days ago?
There
No.
was not a direct quote that said it, but they said
My
it
point
was
exactly. Okay.
problem
so he
with
should've
Tua and how he
should've-
treated him,
he
and
should've
other
continued
offensive
to
players
sneak
on the
this,
team
and that's
did
how he
not
felt.
feel like they wanted to play for him. That's what it ain't no need to
He could have
sneak this.
continued to sneak this if that's how he felt.
I think if this was any other, if it was Lamar Jackson,
Lamar
if
would
it
handle
was-
it differently.
how would they
I think-
handle
I
it?
think we know
How
that.
did he handle his
We've
contract
seen Lamar
negotiation
being
issues?
outspoken.
We
We've
saw
seen
what
Lamar-
happened. He almost
seen-
demanded a trade.
because he didn't get paid.
Tua almost didn't get paid a couple months ago. What are you talking about? He just got paid.
So we're talking about Tua.
He just
who's
did this
being
interview
passive-aggressive
after he
and
got his
decides to
big
stand up now
contract.
versus
So-
Lamar,
so
who's
it-
always been outspoken, who's always said what he wanted, who always said.
Lamar has not been outspoken. Stop it.
Oh,
Lamar, look, for
in
a while
argument-
there, everybody says mother was running his. Come on, stop. He wasn't
In arguments,
outspoken.
sometimes we have to look at the other side. So what is the other side here? If Brian Flores literally had his way, and through him talking to Tua like he did, or other offensive players, he might have known, just like everybody else knows, that when it gets to the playoffs, when it gets to high-profile teams, so on and so forth, Miami tends to underperform. So if you can get through this, if you can get through this lashing, if you can get through a stern coaching, maybe I might toughen my team like Harbaugh is about to do for the Chargers. Maybe I can toughen my team to the point where as though we can actually perform when it's needed. Until then, he can have all the stats, he can have the better offensive players, and they still underperform in the playoffs. Something has to change. Maybe Brian was trying to make that change. We never think about it from that point of view.
No, Brian was trying to cut him. That was reported.
Maybe he was saying he's not tough enough to perform in the playoffs. Guess
what?
what? He's still not
Like
tough
you
enough
said,
to
he's
perform
not
in
the
the playoffs.
GM.
Let me ask you a question. So, in all, it's 32 teams in the league. Is Tua a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Start with
course.
Miami.
Made the Pro Bowl last year. So, what are we
The
saying
Pro Bowl
here?
the Pro Bowl is going to be an argument when quarterbacks drop Justin Herbert in the Pro Bowl. That's going to be your argument. Okay.
Didn't
this
y'all
is-
back
that
him
is-
in the Pro Bowl last year or something?
Did his numbers justify him being one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC last year, or would he just make it off of what a tokenism? What are you trying to say?
This
Was his
man
numbers-
Tyreek, go ahead.
Because his numbers weren't good enough for him to be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC last year. That's what you're saying.
It was
Are you
mainly
saying,
the offensive
are you
team
saying
around
his
him,
numbers were? Are you saying his numbers were Pro Bowl worthy after Lamar, after Josh Allen, after C.J. Stroud, which he could be a replacement for one of them? Yes, that's fine. Was he voted? Should he have been voted on initially? No, because he wasn't better than any of those three quarterbacks last year. No,
Was he voted on initially?
no.
So who was?
Lamar, Allen, C.J. Stroud. I just named him.
I could have recalled.
I'm sorry. Lamar, Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and C.J. Stroud was Alton. I'm sorry.
So was Tua's numbers good enough? Was my question was Tua's numbers good enough to be a Pro Bowl quarterback last year? He had more touchdowns,
Pro Bowl
more
alternate,
yards,
yes.
all of that. So
Pro Bowl alternate.
you
yes.
can put your individual hate into it all you want. We talking about
This
numbers.
is a fact. He was not.
That's
a Pro
not
Bowl.
fact.
He was
Numbers are facts.
He
Your
was not
opinion is
selected.
what's driving
he was
your
not
discussion.
selected as a Pro Bowler initially.
I just asked you a simple
What
question.
about that is not a fact?
Do Tua's numbers show that he's a Pro Bowl quarterback?
Based
Not
off
that
the
you
voting,
voted for
no.
of your personal
Based
choice.
off the voting,
I
no.
just asked you about numbers. See, that's what I'm saying. Where your mind isn't clicking is where numbers
Based
equal
off
facts,
the voting, no.
not
The
opinion.
numbers going to the vote, correct? The numbers going to the
But
vote
that
for
wasn't
the
my
Pro Bowl.
question. My question was,
Okay.
was Tua's numbers Pro Bowl worthy? You trying to put your personal twist in it.
I'm not
and
putting my
that's
personal
my
twist.
point.
I'm going off
When
the
it comes
facts.
to a people
Was he
like a
voted in the
coach,
Pro Bowl
if they don't
originally?
believe
No.
in you, it
He
don't
was
matter
an
what you do
alternate.
on the field.
That's
It
it.
don't matter what you produce because they're not going to believe in you. It's the same with fans like you. If you don't believe in somebody, I don't care how well they play on the field. If you don't like them, if you got something against them, I don't care what they do. That's what they done with black people our whole lives. A black quarterback can go out there and do great because people like you, usually white, who talk just like you, will say, "Oh no, he don't play like the quarterback I like to see. His arm not big enough. He don't do it that way. He's not prototype." Yes, I am. I'm making an exact.
Lamar
I'm making
Jackson
an
and Patrick
exact
Mahomes
correlation.
made it above him, and
How
then black.
y'all are trying to twist this
That's what
man
I'm saying.
because he don't play like a prototypical quarterback that you
Because
like.
the team
He don't
around
play.
him is
He
that
don't shoot the
good.
ball down the field.
Same
deep
thing with
enough
Brock
for you.
Purdy. Brock
He
Purdy
don't
is
do all
the
that.
same thing.
Guess
What
what?
are you talking about?
He plays his style of quarterback and it's effective for his team. Does he win
Okay.
the Super Bowl? No.
Oh.
Only one team
Are you-
gonna win.
Are you-
Only
are you-
one team gonna win.
Okay. Just like we did for San Francisco. When you go down the list, is Brock Purdy the top 3 people that you're afraid of on that team? Absolutely not.
In the
When you go to Miami
NFC,
Dolphins,
he's one of the
is-
top
is
3
Tua
quarterbacks.
The top 3? No, he's not. You're not worried about that. You're worried about them 2 rounds
In the NFC,
and that
Brock
backfield.
Purdy
And he's
is
a
one of the
result of
top
all
3
around him.
quarterbacks.
Because we saw what he was without those weapons. He was garbage. So you
I
bring
can
the
say that
weapons in,
about any of the great quarterbacks of all time. If you take away their weapons,
Patrick Mahomes,
they're gonna be a
you
different
took away
player.
both his weapons. You took away a Tyreek Hill, and he still went to the Super Bowl.
Tyreek, put him on a different
You
strategy
go
number wise.
Tyreek is over there in Kansas City. He comes to Miami, and now all of a sudden, Tua is the top 3 quarterback.
Hold up. So we saying Mahomes look exactly the same as he did when Tyreek was in
I'm
Kansas
saying
City?
he got the same jewelry with and without
You
Tyreek.
don't think
That's what
that
I'm saying.
defense
He
is
got
a
the
lot
same
better in
ring.
Kansas City? He scored
He
10
got
points
the
against the
ring
Ravens and
without-
won the
Before
game.
Tyreek got to Miami, Tua didn't get the job done. He didn't get the job done.
That the Kansas City team is better overall than
Than they
Miami's
were with
team.
Tyreek?
Can we agree?
No one will say they are better, right? They are better without Tyreek. They were better last year without Tyreek than they were with Tyreek.
I think
They
Kansas
had the
City's
same
defense
result.
is head and
They
shoulders
had-
better. You don't think Kansas City's defense? They went into Baltimore and shut down Lamar. How many points did the Ravens score? How many points?
And all the times we've talked about that game, we talked about the ineptitude of the Baltimore offense more than the Kansas City defense. And
How many
now you
points
wanna
did Kansas
spin it
City
to
score?
support your
How many
argument.
points did the Chiefs score in the game? How many they
He
scored?
scored 17.
That's enough to win now. That's all Patrick Mahomes needs, 17 points. When he was averaging 34 with Tyreek, what? How many? Come on, man. It's not the same. They won it in different ways. They was not the favorite the last 2 years to win no Super Bowl. They both times they won, they pulled it out. And we say Patrick Mahomes is great. He on a different level. So comparing him to Patrick Mahomes,
You
it's like,
just said other great quarterbacks. I just gave you one off top.
okay, you took the greatest. Like
with the same individual that was on both teams.
this
That's all
guy's
I'm saying.
compared to like probably Tom Brady, like one of the greatest of all time. Like, what are we doing here? Y'all will do anything to cut down this man Tua, and I'll stand on that. It's ridiculous, honestly. It's ridiculous. But we'll move on to the next subject. I applaud you, Tua, for standing your ground, speaking your mind. Don't let nobody shut you out, especially these black men out here who want to back up Brian Flores, who ain't never done nothing in the whole league. It's pathetic.
Black, right?
He don't
It's
realize
pathetic.
that. He don't realize it.
You know
You
he's
what?
black, right?
Who's
The
that?
picture, the picture clearly shows that Brian Flores is black. You act as
I
if he's
just
white.
said that. That's why y'all defending him so hard. Y'all feel like, oh, he need another job. He did himself this way. I'm sorry, man. I've seen enough proof and enough evidence.
Clip this and put it out. I need all the reactions to this segment.
Put it all out there.
I need all the
Fuck
reactions.
Brian Flores. He don't deserve nothing. I'm sorry. I've seen enough evidence. Let's move on. He a Steeler. Stay ass in Pittsburgh. All right, next. Tom Brady came out the other day and said, following up what we just talked about, the NFL has dumbed down the game so rookie quarterbacks can play. Man, this is the dumbest thing I haven't heard much dumber than this in years. How's the game dumbed down? If anything, he part of the reason why the rule changes were implemented. He part of the reason why you can't touch nobody no more. He part of the reason why if you touch the quarterback below the knee, oh, that's a penalty. If you hit him too hard in the chest, that's a penalty. If you can't do nothing to the quarterback. And who was one of the main reasons for that? This guy. How's the game been dumbed down? Why? Because the coaches are smarter and the game's been more developed around trying to get the quarterback on the field because you're paying them so much in a rookie contract that you want to make sure you get something out of your investment early. I think this is stupid. And he's just sitting on his high horse now that he's getting paid by Fox, thinking he can just say things out of that. Oh, that's a smart thing
CBS.
to say. But he works for Fox is what I'm saying. No, he's an idiot. I'm sorry. This is a dumb statement. I don't agree with it, but I'm sure one of y'all will. Go ahead. Who wants to go first?
I 100% agree with Tom Brady.
Of course you do.
Well, the fact is, no, he's wrong. I'm sorry. I can't make this up. He's 100% incorrect. I love Tom. Tom got me a Super Bowl, but he these quarterbacks are playing so high level pro football offensives in college that they are easily bringing that to the league, and then the league is finally saying, I'm going to adjust my playbook to my quarterback versus having a regular quarterback or regular playbook and having you adapt to that. No, I'm going to say what you've done, take your strengths, and I'm going to use them to my advantage in a sense. So in a sense, yes. Is it dumbed down to a certain degree? Yes, because offensive coordinators and coaches are gearing their playbook around the player. But one would argue, shouldn't you be doing that anyway?
Should
so
always
you can have your investment at an earlier age in the sense, instead of waiting till they're 24, 25, 26. And now you're starting to see the fruits when a 22, 23-year-old can do the exact same thing. So, shout out to Tom. He says a lot of great things. He's a galvanizer of people's spirit, a team spirit. But at the end of the day, he got to take a back seat on this one.
Yeah, I agree with how you said that, Justin. That's what teams are doing. They're taking a quarterback, and saying, this is what this quarterback did well in college. We're going to build our offense around what they do as well. And it's not saying we're dumbing down the offense. We're actually installing the offense that better suits our personnel and our quarterback and what his strong suits are. It's not putting a quarterback in the offense and saying, you're going to do what we do best. You're going to do how we play. You're going to do how this offense is built. Instead of we're just building around the most important person on the offense, the most important person on the team, perhaps. And I think how he phrased it was incorrect. It's just where the teams are being smart in their quarterbacks and what they can do and what they struggle at, and putting them in a position to do what they do more often than not. So I agree with how you put it, Justin. I agree. His comment is completely incorrect. It's not being dumbed down. It's actually being built around better, more athletic quarterbacks with better skill sets each and every year.
He's a hypocrite, because that's exactly what they did in New England for him. How many different Wes Welkers can you find? How many guys are the same little scat routes out to? His whole offense was built around what he did best: get the ball out of his hands quickly, move the ball down, matriculate down. Dumb down.
Well, you are talking about Tom Brady. He did adjust his game based off the personnel that he had
later in his career. I'm talking about early in his career. He was a game manager. He was a game manager.
He was. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about
until
here?
He got weapons. But I would. Do
so
you
why
agree?
Is he trying to criticize teams for trying to game manage or make the game simple for the young quarterback until they can get better, until they can get a little smarter? It's stupid. This is again. It's Tom. Whatever.
It's a college thing. It's more so a college thing. Tom Brady wasn't a superstar in college. So he had to get it. He had to get it from the dirt in a sense, right? And then once he started to get his reins, okay, now we're adjusting the offense because now I know who you are. I don't know who you are. When you have Kyle Murray and he bring his coach with him, pretty much Kingsbury to the pros. When you have people that's changing everything, like for Lamar Jackson and so on and so forth, like they're literally saying, I know your strengths and I'm going to do that. But I see it in college. You really technically have to be a superstar in college in order for you to have that kind of cachet to bring it to the NFL once you're a top rated pick. If you don't have that cachet, then unfortunately, if you play backup or behind, you do got to get it from the ground up. So yes, for those individuals, what Tony Brady says is still valid. You have to learn whatever offense is there for whoever's starting. If you're coming in from the backup or you're coming in from third, fourth round pick. However, once you prove yourself, yes, I'm going to change my offense around, i.e. Kirk Cousins.
Do you agree with his point that I'll paraphrase, that it's better when quarterbacks sit for a year prior to just playing initially?
That's that whole thing. That's the whole thing of you learning the offense.
No, just specifically that part. That quarterbacks are more successful if they sit or have a chance to learn, or however you phrase it, instead of playing right away.
Every situation
well,
is different.
To his situation, like I said, we got to look at it through his eyes. What is he trying to get out? He probably thinks he's the greatest quarterback of all time. A lot of people can vouch for that. Who's the greatest quarterback right now? Patrick Mahomes. They both sat, right?
No,
if you go with that, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback.
The last three MVP set for.
So
8 weeks.
If you go with that mindset, you can't say that he's wrong. It's just things are being more customized for more quicker development, I should say.
I disagree with him 100% because you don't know. Every situation is different. Because think about this. He sat, but who is he sitting behind? A Drew Bledsoe. Patrick Mahomes sat, he was sitting behind an Alex Smith, somebody who plays a similar style of football. Now, Lamar Jackson is.
They don't play a similar style. Wait a second. Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes played a similar style?
Well, why don't
Smith can't even run out the pocket? What are you talking about?
Patrick Mahomes is more athletic, but it's a similar style.
Alex Smith wasn't not athletic.
He's not a gunslinger at all. At
all. Of course he's better. Of course he's better. That wasn't the point.
So it wasn't like a style when Alex Smith didn't throw the ball past 20 yards. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about was he a mobile quarterback? Was you Michael Vick trying to learn from a statue? No. If you're going to change the whole offense to go around a mobile quarterback like the Ravens did, the Ravens basically
I see that
threw away the whole offense. No, how much really did he learn behind Joe Flacco? How much really? How to be a pro? Like, Joe didn't even talk to the man.
Technically, yes, you can learn.
Joe shunned him. Same thing happened with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
You can't learn. Aaron Rodgers got shunned. He still learned.
He learned. He definitely learned. And he sat for multiple years. You got to learn in 3 years. I'm talking about if you invest in a guy early in the first round, 9 times out of 10, you learn certain things from in training camp. But if you're that good, put him on the field. The best learning is doing. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. Look, we just seen it the last several years. Most of the best quarterbacks we talking about right now. Did Justin Herbert sit? Did Joe Burrow sit? Did these guys, or did they come in like, hey, I'm ready, let's go and see what happens?
One that you just named, you can name one that sat and had success. So I
That's
agree.
Why I said
it depends on the situation. It depends on the offense. It depends on the head coach.
I just said that
because you just named two. You can go back to the last 3 MVPs: Rodgers, Mahomes.
That was my point. It should be no hard and fast rule to say that all rookies need to sit. Like this rule about if you the NBA, you got to go to college for 1 year or all this other dumb stuff. If you're good enough, go. If you're good enough to start. If you're that great, go on. Let the people flourish. Why hold people back thinking that everybody's the same? No, because 9 times out of 10, between coaching, training camp, and your trajectory, look at what we just seen with some of these young rookies right now. Look, man, Chicago, they got them one. I think Washington, I think they might have got a guy. You know what I mean? Should he sit? Should he just sit there and be like, oh, no, he's not ready yet? No, I think these players are ready to go, and they're going to sink or swim. And, hey, if 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you decide that, hey, maybe they weren't ready, You can sit him down. You think you can't put him back in? I just think it's
now that you said that I'm not saying that you're wrong, but what I'm saying, when you say that opens up a whole nother can of worms. Oh my God, you can't bench him. That's messing up his confidence. You got to make sure, you got to let him go through that. Like then you'll hear that narrative, and then they got to be amongst themselves to prove that they can sit through those tough times and bounce back. So that's
coaching too. That's coaching. You know what I mean? Peyton Manning took his lumps. You know what I mean? It happens. That's why I say every situation is different. Take your lumps, get better. We'll see what happens. But Tom, whatever.
You're gonna get a lot of that moving forward.
Speaking of Tom, Tom came out with his top 5 greatest quarterbacks that currently reside in the NFL, and I found the list to be a bit interesting. Number 5 on his list was Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, Joe Burrow. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 2, Josh Allen. And the best is Patrick Mahomes. Anybody disagree with the order in which Tom put these quarterbacks on the list? And of course, he's considered the greatest quarterback, and he's an analyst for Fox now, so he's going to be talking about a lot of these guys coming up. Let's start with you, Justin. What's your thoughts on Tom's list?
Let me ask y'all a question. Does it feel like, because we're going to go through this again, does it feel like they throwing Lamar in there just to make sure that you got a black person in there? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. It feels that way. I hope not, because those other 4 quarterbacks kind of fit a certain mold. And then
you think that's Tom, or you think that's we're getting into that. Let me stop. Go ahead.
So I'm using that as a caveat. Like that's I'm gonna let that flow. But with that list that he gave, if you are assuming, and it's Tom Brady who bounced back off an injury himself, that he's always going to put himself and then compare others to himself. He's saying, hey, I had an injury, I bounced back. Although I was younger. Aaron Rodgers, you had your injury. You're good now. Quote unquote, you could have came back last year. So you really had a healthy off season in a sense. So can he be the same person that he was a year ago before the injury? With that team, he should be able to. So I'm not mad at the top 5. I do have issues with Josh Allen, but I'll say that for when I go over the Bills.
The biggest gripe I have is, what has Josh Allen done to be number 2? I'm not saying he's not top 5, 6 in my opinion, but what has he done to be number 2? In my opinion, and I'll kind of talk about this indirectly when I talk about Cleveland. But what has he done to be number 2? We hang on to one close postseason loss 2 years ago against Kansas City, and we give that a whole bunch of weight. And I don't understand, what has he done to be number 2? If you put Burrow as number 2, I may not agree, but I understand the argument based off what he's done in 2 healthy seasons. I may not agree. I may say he's injury prone. I may say, he has a worse defense this year, but beating Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City holds weight when he's the only one to do that in the playoffs and beat him in Kansas City. So, and Aaron Rodgers coming off Achilles injury at 40, I don't know if I have him number 5. Can you put Matthew Stafford there just as a placeholder? I'm not saying that's who it's going to be, but I don't think Jordan Love is ready. I don't know if CJ Stroud is ready. I don't think Tua is top 5. So maybe I put a Matthew Stafford as a placeholder. I don't think it's going to be that same order, or even be that top 5 in 5 or 6 weeks. But I don't know if I put Aaron Rodgers there, when the last time we saw him play, it was the 4th play of game 1, and he was limping off the field. I just don't know if I could do that.
All right. So on that same thing, Peyton gave his top 5, and coming in at number 5 is Josh Allen. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. Number 3, Justin Herbert. Number 2, Joe Burrow. And number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I'll let you go on, Calvin. What's your issue with this list?
I'm a big Herbert guy. If you watched last year, you saw how many times I took the Chargers. I can't have him top 5. As many times, every time I thought they were going to turn the corner, once again, he's just the one that's in there that I don't believe should be in there. The other 4, I think, should be in everyone's top 5 list. The order may change 2 through 4. I think everyone has the same number 1, which I think completely agree with. 2 through 4 should be probably fluctuates based off your fan base, based off who you like, based off who you watch more. That's up to argument, and that 5th spot's up for grabs. But Herbert doesn't belong in there, in my opinion. As much as I love the Chargers, as much as I picked them, year after year, week after week.
Justin.
I'm not. Here we go. Just that one Negro. Shout out to Patrick. So with that being said, it's just it's a flawed list. I don't. Peyton's going to look at someone and say, who can make all the throws? Because I can make all the throws. That's what I've done. That's what he's going to look at. That's why Herbert is as valued as he is. But it might be under the same thing as Peyton, because Peyton had issues in the playoffs. Sometimes you don't have enough fortitude, enough swag, enough leadership to galvanize your team to move forward in the playoffs, and that's Herbert. He doesn't have that. They don't play for him. I think they just play with him. So that's why you needed to get a Harbaugh to kind of be that person to do that for that particular team. So no, I don't think he deserves to be in there. He lost weapons, so his stats might take a hit this year. So I don't see it. But this is just me. And they got to toss in Josh Allen. And once again, that Josh Allen thing I just have issues with. Is he great? He's very good.
I thought you were higher on Josh Allen than I was.
He's a good player. He's a very good player.
I thought you were higher on Josh Allen than I was. I thought I was the only one that had to bring people back down to reality.
We never really talked about Josh Allen too much.
Hmm.
So no, it's Peyton's list. So I mean, we're not going to get mad at their list. Him and Tom Brady. Like I said, I really feel like they're just throwing Lamar in because they have to, because he just happened to win his 2 MVPs, and we should probably represent that some kind of way. But he should definitely be higher than most of these quarterbacks that's on this list, on both lists.
All right, well, to that vein then, because I hear what y'all saying, and just Calvin, you kind of batted about who you would put there, whatever, yickety. But feet to the fire, Justin, who's your top 5?
In order?
In order. Because my issue is when people do these type of lists, I think their criteria or what we're looking for is different. Are you looking for a winner? Are you looking for your stats? Are you looking for your career accomplishments, or how many Super Bowls you won, or how many playoff games you won, or how many Super Bowls you got to, or your potential for what you're going to do moving forward? Because I don't think they're looking at, oh, what did Matthew Stafford do a few years ago, or this guy do that, or because I don't understand how you can not have Josh Allen in your top 5 if you're looking at who's been one of the best quarterbacks over the last several years. Yeah, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but God damn it, he Lamar can't beat him. I haven't seen many of these guys beat him consistently. He gets right there and loses or what in the playoffs or whatever. But is he not one of the best quarterbacks in the league? That's the question.
I mean, he's top 5.
That's my point. So for him not to be on this list,
well, but I said he's 5 or 6. But
that's what I'm saying. If he's not in your top 5, name your 5. Go ahead.
I think 1-5 is correct just based off the screen. I will put Lamar number 2. He wants you to unanimous MVP, and you damn near won it twice unanimously. That says a lot. So we're not going to discredit Lamar for that. And I don't even like Lamar too much, but I gotta give him respect. If
so
someone
you're valuing the award and not any postseason accomplishments of any kind.
He did have some postseason success. He has won a few games in the postseason. He just hasn't won the biggest games, And the same reason,
but not just having won, he's choked. Go ahead.
Same reason why he lost. Same reason why George lost. They just can't beat the other guy on the field. The only person that did do it was Joe Burrow. But if you're telling me that Joe Burrow is this good, which he's phenomenal, how often do I have to continue to bring up this injury thing that he has? Does that take away from his stature? Because your best ability is availability. With that being said, am I supposed to get rid of Aaron Rodgers because he had an injury, one injury? And now he's coming back with a whole, with younger receiving core, so on and so forth. I just don't want to throw away Aaron Rodgers right now.
All right, so who's your 5, man?
You want to think about it for a second? Because I think I got my 5. You want to think about it?
a lot of couching. Tell me who
Hey,
your
yo, slide Lamar to second. Put Joe fourth.
Who was third?
Josh, unfortunately.
Okay.
He's a great regular season quarterback. We'll see if it continues. And I'll put Aaron at 5.
Calvin.
Matthew Stafford, strong consideration.
I got Mahomes 1. I got Lamar 2. I got Joe Burrow 3. I classify it as if they are healthy, I think you have a great chance to win football games. I've seen Lamar go 6-2 with garbage, and it was just Lamar willing his team to victory. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do the same thing. I think Joe Burrow, we got to talk about injury bug like Justin said, but in the 2 seasons that he's been healthy, there was Super Bowl, and then they lost in the conference finals to the Chiefs 2 years ago, I believe, in his 2 full seasons healthy thus far. I have those 3 because I think if they are healthy, regardless of what is around them, you have a chance to win football games. And I think they have won football games with less talent, and they've relied on the quarterback position more than any other team. So I have those 2. I have those 1, 2, and 3. I have Josh Allen 5. I as much as I talk bad about him, I think he's overrated. I think that Lamar gets a lot of flack for stuff that Josh Allen does, but they don't talk about it. And I think that's one of the problems I have with Josh Allen. So it's not more personal towards Josh Allen, it's personal towards people that uplift Josh Allen for the things that he does that Lamar does, but Lamar does them better. And whatever Lamar struggles in, Josh Allen seems struggling as well, but we don't hold those same concerns when it comes to Josh Allen. And 4, I can't have Herbert. He hasn't done enough, in my opinion. It's hard for me to say Aaron Rodgers isn't that guy. He was just coming off back-to-back MVPs. But what have you done for me lately? And I'm going to go with another AFC quarterback who had a phenomenal in the regular season. Maybe that doesn't translate into year 2. I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud. I put a rookie over Matthew Stafford. I think it's tough, and I think it's another quarterback that won, albeit he was a rookie, made mistakes. He just won and did enough to carry his team without Tank Dell, with the struggling running game. When the weapons started to disappear,
struggling running game. They had one of the best running games in the league down the stretch of the year.
Down the stretch, yes. Early on during the struggles of the Houston Texans, that's what I'm talking about. That's my opinion. Those are my top 5.
NFL a whole offseason to learn your weaknesses, and you're projecting them to do.
He's better than Josh Allen already
to do what he can do.
I'm saying he has more weapons. He has the ability to be better, yes. And I think he took a weapon away from Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen is I don't know if Josh Allen is a quarterback that can win with less talent, like I spoke about with Burrow, with Mahomes, and with Lamar. We'll see this year. I don't know if he's that quarterback yet.
Next up,
go back 1 second. We all named AFC quarterbacks. So Matthew Stafford the best in the NFC, or the highest rated quarterback in the NFC?
For me, I think is Jalen Hurts.
It took a tough season last year, man.
He was injured, but I still think he's got the best weapons.
So
if we're looking at the totality of the offense and what he can do with it,
have the best weapons this year.
Why not?
Those weapons at Rams, they can go blow for blow, in my opinion.
But I'll still take Jalen. He's younger, and I think I like him better. Y'all can have Matthew Stafford.
Understood.
I like the play caller more in LA versus Philadelphia, personally. Cool.
Neither one of them make my top 5, so it really don't matter.
I mean, I said first top of the NFC because we ain't named no NFC quarterbacks.
I mean, you're a quarterback. Why don't you name him? All right.
Talk about that later.
Let's move on. My top 5 is on the screen, but in a different order. No, in a different order. Like I say, I believe in Josh Allen. Y'all don't have to believe in him, but I think he's.
No, you believe in Herbert.
Nah, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Understood. Yeah, I believe in Josh Allen just like that. I think that's a very good order from Tom Brady.
You got Allen over Lamar?
Yeah.
And Burrow?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to talk about Lamar. I have not spoke about the Ravens since we lost in the AFC Championship game. I don't watch ESPN. I don't follow anything. I have refrained from watching any coverage on the Baltimore Ravens for the past several months because I have yet to rewatch the game. I'm so pissed off. So no, this is a hard night for me and what I got to do. But I'm going to keep it real. Let's move on.
Keeping it real goes wrong.
Matthew Judon was traded from the New England Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons in a big move this past week. Look, the Falcons really trying to build something down there in Atlanta. They went and got Kirk Cousins, my man Kirk, and now they just added themselves a defensive weapon. So that NFC South is getting tough, baby. Justin, you're an NFC South guy. How you like this move?
It's cool. They need them. Their pass rush has been lacking. Their defense gave up so many close games last year, if not getting blown out in other games. So they definitely needed an upgrade on that defensive side. But will he move the needle? Very, very, very small. Very small.
You hate him.
Not worried about him.
Go ahead,
I think it's a good move for him. I think you get a pass rusher on that defense. You combine that with they signed Justin Simmons as well in that secondary. So their defense got better on in the backfield and up front. I was disappointed that the Ravens didn't make this move, especially when it came out that Judon did not want a contract extension. I thought that was the big holdup. He wanted more money or wanted additional years. And I thought that was the holdup. And then he came out and said, I don't expect a new contract from Atlanta. If that was the case for a third-round draft pick in a year in which you're going to get comp picks most likely in the fourth and fifth round, and an early fourth round is nothing but a late third round, in my opinion, you make this move, especially with the problems you have or the lack of depth that you have up front. Ravens should have made this move, in my opinion.
Yeah, this kind of speaks to some issues up in New England because, we saw Judon sitting on the cooler, get jacked during training camp, kind of jawing back and forth, got into it with new head coach up there. I don't know, man.
Wow, I did say Jonathan Velma. What's his name? What's the head coach's name?
No. Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
And Gerard Mayo. And he young guy, he coached there under Belichick, correct?
Yeah, he was there last year.
So that's what I'm saying. He his new. So clearly, Judon didn't want to play for him. I think this was personal. Like, nah, I want out. And they don't have no projection to do anything good. So I don't think this is just necessarily about money. I think he wants money. He wants to be paid more. But I just think he didn't want to. If you're going to pay me what I'm getting paid, I don't want to play for this team to get paid that type of money. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking it. We know they got hurt last year. So, it was just a bicep. Biceps usually can heal without lingering issues. So, I do expect him to go back to his 15 to 17 game average that he normally does. And like I said, he does provide a pass rushing punch, but when you're the main guy on the defensive line, you tend to get doubled.
Yeah,
so
sure.
you will have to deal with that in the course of a whole thing. And, maybe he just didn't like Mayo. Maybe Mayo challenged him. And, these dudes are
here we go.
Not what they used to be. So, I want out.
Here we go. Tua never X'd out. Never wanted a contract extension like a man. Let's move on.
Yeah, it takes less money to stay. But
So, all right, let's get into our season previews. We got a lot of them tonight, so no wasted time tonight. Let's start off tonight with the Cleveland Browns. Calvin, tell us about Cleveland.
Your starting quarterback is Deshaun Watson, backed up by Mr. Jameis Winston, who I think was a key addition in Cleveland, and also a former backup in Baltimore and Tyrod and Huntley. I was going to say Tyrod Huntley. Biggest offseason loss, Kareem Hunt. They with the uncertainty of starting. Why am I blanking on starting running back's name right there? Nick Chubb after that gruesome knee injury. Don't know what to expect, and you still have Deshaun, who hasn't played well in that offense yet. We saw Joe Flacco lighting up late in the season, throwing for 3 and 4 touchdown passes in that same offense. So it makes you wonder what is wrong, what is going on with Deshaun Watson. They gave him additional weapons in Jerry Jeudy, and I talked about O.C. Ken Dorsey coming from Buffalo. And a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, this offense went to another level after he was fired in Buffalo. And I'll turn back and say, well, this offense also couldn't get their main weapon the ball This also caused more turnovers after he was fired as well. So, in my opinion, Josh Allen's his better years, his projected going towards his peak for the last couple of years under Ken Dorsey. And I wonder if he can bring that type of offense, that type of structure to Cleveland. And will we get this old Deshaun Watson? We've been talking about for 2-3 years. Will this Houston Texans Deshaun Watson showed up? He only played 8 games last year. Now, the last game that we saw him play in Baltimore, coming back from 14 points down in the fourth quarter to beat the Ravens, who ended up winning the division and the number 1 seed. That was you can't knock that game. He put, and he, especially if he played that game with the injury and finished the game, throwing a touchdown pass to take the lead and like I say, overcoming the 14-point deficit late after getting down early. I believe that was the Kyle Hamilton pick on like the first or second play of the game. The Ravens were rolling, and then this Deshaun Watson leads to a comeback. So will this Deshaun Watson stand up? And one thing I think that the Cleveland Browns have done, they have the backups in place now. I don't think they actually trust Deshaun Watson. They saw what happened with Joe Flacco on his offense, and I think that left a taste in their mouth as to saying, did we really pay the right guy? Did we really guarantee the money for the right guy? Or is it Jameis Winston, who can also, I think, can step up and is a capable backup as well? We just got to see. I think the Cleveland Browns will surprise in the AFC, especially the AFC North. If Deshaun is healthy, we've seen him have injury problems as well. I think they can make some noise. I think they will not be at the bottom of the division. We already talked about that team in Pittsburgh. But will the Deshaun Watson step up? Because this has the potential to be a very strong division with quarterback play, with Lamar and with Joe Burrow, in addition to Deshaun Watson as well. Will this offense be able to go to the next step with Nick Chubb coming back, with the addition of Jerry Jeudy to Amari Cooper? We know they were talking about Brandon Ayuk for a little bit a couple of weeks ago. We've seen that those talks have died down. So the offense seems to be set in their ways. They re-signed Darius Smith, opposite Myles Garrett as well, so they still have that great pass rush. This team has the talent to compete in the AFC North. Do they have the quarterback play to compete in the AFC North? And that's the question I have.
Well, you got them finishing
3rd.
Okay, all right. Justin, your thoughts on the Cleveland Browns?
I definitely got Cleveland 1-2 behind the Ravens when it comes to this year. I'm a little bit more buying Deshaun Watson. Did you just quote Eminem with a real Watson, please stand up? I think you did. I'm going to let that go, though. With that being said, you definitely did. Deshaun Watson,
Slim
when you have Cooper, that's one thing. Cooper's going to be, he's a vet. He's a great vet at this particular point in time. When you add a Jerry Jeudy was underutilized in Denver. He didn't have a quarterback. He didn't have a quarterback to throw him the ball when he needs to get thrown the ball. Jerry Jeudy is a route runner, so he needs to catch the ball in strides, something like that. As soon as I make my break, throw me the ball. Don't throw it up and I have to go get it, kind of thing. That's what the problem that Russell had with him. Russell would do his thing, try to get out of the pocket, do all this other stuff. He doesn't need all that. That's not his skill set, and it's pretty proven. He needs someone to throw on the ball accurately. That's what Deshaun can do. Deshaun will see the route and throw it there before you even get to that point. That's what it's all about for Deshaun. So the fact that you have both of these dudes on the wings, that hopefully free up a little bit for their tight end. I don't know why Deshaun can't connect with Njoku as much as I would want him to, but he doesn't. So hopefully that frees that up a little bit more. I think honestly, Joe Flacco was just tossing that joint. He was playing with house money.
Njoku was catching everything.
He just threw some things up, and maybe that helps Deshaun Watson a little bit. Maybe that says, hey, I do got some guys that can just go get it. I don't have to have a pinpoint pass. I can just throw it up there and he can go get it, especially like a Cooper or something like that. So that's always good. Their defense is still going to be one of the best in the league. So we're not necessarily knocking that. I really do think Deshaun comes back this year.
I do too, and I think their offense is very complimentary. Like you said, Nick Chubb, that injury, I haven't heard any updates. So that'll be interesting. And losing Hunt is bad.
He's done.
I think he's done. Look, when you have injuries like that, right? When your whole knee is shattered, you need to have that injury like with the first 2-3 years of your career. While you're still in your younger 20s. This dude is almost 30. His body is not going to heal the way that we want it to heal, like the way that we expect him to heal. He'll never be the same as that player that he was before this injury.
Really?
Shout out to Jerome Ford. It's your turn, homeboy.
We'll see. But that defense will be the catalyst for this team. And those pass rushers, they stacked, man. They loaded and pause. They really got everything they need to really compete in the AFC North. Like I said, when we talked about Cincinnati, I'm not worried about them. Pittsburgh, I think they will compete. Cleveland, I got them finishing right there neck and neck with the Ravens in the division. I believe in Cleveland. And I think Deshaun will have a bounce back year. I thought he showed the sore. We saw some glimmers of it last year. And like you said, you mentioned him getting hurt that last game, beating the Ravens, hurting us, whatever like that. But I like the connection between Joe Flacco and Njoku. They and Amari Cooper, man, was just catching everything down the stretch last year. So if Deshaun is able to utilize his weapons, this will be a very dangerous team. Very much so looking forward to see where they come from. Now, I didn't like one thing you said, and that was about, Jerry Jeudy. I don't like Jerry Jeudy. Never have. I don't think you're saying.
You're not alone. A lot of people don't like Jerry Jeudy.
Like, what is he? Like, what are you looking for him to be? Is he a possession receiver? Is he a deep threat guy? What is he?
I think he's better suited as a 2, however you choose to describe him. I think the problem in Denver, he was the number 1 and looked to make plays despite the lack of lack of talent at the QB position. But I think next to Amari Cooper, with Njoku in the middle, if you get a healthy Nick Chubb, even if you have Jerome Ford, you can rely on him.
Solid. You
can rely on him to kind of play his position as that number 2 receiver. And I think it'll be less pressure on him. So I think that's where they have the potential to. That's where he has the potential to flourish this year, because he's not going to be counted on as number 1 receiver coming out of Alabama. With that group of receivers trying to prove that he was the man. So,
and that was honestly his problem. He thought he was the number 1, and the NFL and Steve Smith showed him that he was not a number 1. So as a result of that, he's settling down to number 2. But I think he can have similar stats to Cooper once you have an accurate quarterback throwing you the ball, in which he did not have in Denver.
Yeah, and I think Deshaun can still sling that thing, so we'll see. All right, let's go with the Buffalo Bills. Justin, tell us about Buffalo.
Well, we got the quarterback, Josh Allen. We know that. We know the biggest offseason loss is Stephon Diggs. And shout out to the rookie they picked up in Keon Coleman. I think that was their replacement for Diggs. And they picked up Curtis Samuel also to replace Gabe Davis. So they definitely retooled offensively when it comes to the wideouts. They're just not as known names as a Stephon Diggs. He's a superstar. So that's why I say, can Josh Allen finally prove he's worthy of being a top-rated quarterback by the GOATs? And we just talked about the said GOATs. Without a superstar wide receiver help. Is eventually some of these quarterbacks have to prove that they are the difference maker. So, it doesn't matter who lines up with me. I'm going to make them damn near Pro Bowl player. We saw Patrick do it. We're seeing Lamar do it. It doesn't matter. They still win games. So I'm really looking towards Josh Allen and seeing will he regress back to what he was before Stephon Diggs. Because when Stephon got there, as you guys know, he jumped like 10 quarterbacks in the ratings. So, is it him? Was it Stephon? Is it the system? It's a lot going on. And for some reason, he's being crowned as still being one of those guys for the projected year. I can understand what he did in the past, but for the projected year, they're saying that he's still going to be one of those dudes. And it's just, I just find it hard. I just find it hard to believe right now. I love Keon Coleman, though. He has great hands. He has great awareness from a rookie standpoint. And I think Josh Allen's going to use him. So hopefully Josh can be who he is. We are waiting to see. And they're still playing Von Miller to play 25% of himself. So hopefully he comes back at least at 60%, so they can actually have some defensive presence to go along with their offense. And if you are a fan of James Cook, you can continue to wait for his acceleration into being a good running back, because Josh Allen's just going to take all the red zone plays from him. So, it's that thing too.
I think the offense will be fine. It's the defense. That defense was
Yeah.
gutted. I mean, they lost everybody. And we saw last year they had a lot of injuries regardless. So it's not like they didn't kind of get used to playing without a lot of guys. But when you lose to Javius White, you lose Micah Hyde, Jordan
Jordan
Poyer,
Poyer.
Shaq
Yeah.
Lawson, what's this? Leonard Floyd. Like they like they lost some real star players. And who did they replace them with? Like cap hell, man. The salary cap was a problem. That's why you can't pay a Diggs, a Gabe Davis. You can't pay all these guys. The chickens come home to roost. They were built to win a Super Bowl over these last few years, and they didn't get it done. And now that bubble is bursting. And a lot of teams, you see, that's coming. That's coming. We're gonna talk about another team that's gonna be in a very similar situation. But yeah, I think this team probably. Where'd you have him finish in the AFC East, Justin?
Third.
Okay. I think that's accurate because I got Miami and the Jets finishing.
I got Miami just being above them. Yes.
Yeah. Calvin, your thoughts on the Bills?
Yeah, I agree that the questions are more on the defensive end. Can they stop anybody? Like all the talent that they had to give up. And you talked about, season-ending injuries with Nick Chubb. Von Miller's coming off one. He's 35, and you can't be concerned about that he's going to come and try to be the old Von Miller of 10 years ago when he was winning Super Bowl.
They paid him like it.
You're right. They did. They paid him more than the Rams were willing to. Offensively, I don't know if the sum of the parts in the receiver position can replace what Stephon Diggs did for this team. I think Stephon Diggs helped a young Josh Allen as well. Remember, he came to Buffalo Josh Allen's second year, and a lot of Josh Allen's progression came under Stephon Diggs, and they were unable to get on the same page late, whether or not that was get him open to get him the ball, whatever the reason. He became frustrated in his office and frustrated in Buffalo, and ended up trading to Houston. So I think Josh Allen can experience some regression without these weapons because he has to build these weapons back up and on a team that is going to have a defensive struggle. So he's going to need these guys to play right away and to contribute right away in order to keep up in some of these games. So I think it could be a long season just based on, especially in that division. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, if the Jets stay healthy, if Miami stays healthy, they're in a tough division and they're going to have to win games. And I don't think they're going to have a team collapse like they did last year, in which they can be given the division that way. They're going to have to come out firing from the start and not try to pick up games late. Every game is going to be key. They can't lose these close games, these field goal games like they did last year with Denver that almost cost them the division. So I think it could be a long year for Buffalo.
Yeah. We'll see. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to lead the discussion on this one. Brock Purdy is the quarterback. Once again, showing after last year, he'll try to replicate or come back and show there wasn't a fluke. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Biggest offseason loss. They didn't lose much, but they did lose Randy Gregory, who used to be someone that people thought would be a standout player. I didn't think he really showed a lot in San Francisco, but he was supposed to be a big-time player for them. And they picked up to replace him, Leonard Floyd, who just left Buffalo. Well, I think will be a great addition to that defense, which is already loaded. This team was in the Super Bowl last year. This team came up short once again. It is very interesting. And when you lose to Patrick Mahomes, it really can skew, is it Patrick Mahomes or is it you? You know what I mean? And I thought the coaching in the Super Bowl was not, it left a lot to be desired. Can we agree to that? This team had some things going their way, and they weren't able to capitalize off of some of the mistakes that fell into their lap. But then at the end of the day, they lost to Patrick Mahomes. So can you really be that surprised by that? You got Christian McCaffrey. You got him coming back full off season, fully prepared. Let's ready and roll. Ayuk has not been traded yet. Will he be moved before the season starts? That's a big question. They were trying to move Debo. That was a big question early in the offseason as well. How will this offense look? Offensive line was kind of shored up. They had plugged some holes there. I think they bringing back basically almost the same team as last year, and I expect the same type of result. I think the 49ers are the class of the AFC West. I think there's not much really difference other than this time will they get the job done? They were up 10 points in the Super Bowl. You hold a 10-point lead, you got to finish that job. And if you got a defense as good as you say you have, again, you're playing Patrick Mahomes. 10 points is not enough. You got to put more points on the board. And we believe with Ayuk, with Kittle, Kittle, with Debo, do they have enough, and a Christian McCaffrey out the backfield, hopefully healthy, that will they have enough to get the job done? And right now, they're my favorites in the NFC West, but I don't think they're my favorites in the NFC. And I really don't have much more to add about this team. I think this is more the same in 2024 for the 49ers. Justin, your thoughts on the 49ers?
Well, it's you said a lot, and I don't think the question is, can Brock Purdy replicate his previous year? It's, can he get better? Can he do more? And you're expecting him to do more with another season under your belt. Can you start to exercise the demons and saying, I am the lead person here, not everyone else. I am that guy. And that's what I'm looking at. Christian McCaffrey he's rapidly approaching that 30-year mark for a running back. And he already dealt with a calf strain, if I'm not mistaken, already. Those things tend to linger sometimes. So hopefully you still get the same Christian, but you might not. We remember when the left tackle, what's the left tackle name?
Trent Williams.
He went out. Brock wasn't the same Brock without Trent. Of course, why would you? Was Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer playing now. But he needs to get paid as well. He's still looking for his money. So will he be there at the beginning of the season? We don't know yet. So they have some questions that they need to answer relatively quickly. And if they start out bad, they might not be able to fully recover. And that's my problem with this team. They got a lot of people that's could be sitting out. And we saw the D tackle from the Chiefs do it last year. He sat out for a little bit.
Chris Jones.
Can this team afford that kind of a thing? I don't know. So those are questions. And like I said, I really hope that Brock can turn up one more level, because you might not have all these weapons again. You need to do your part.
Calvin.
Yeah, but I agree. I think the Trent Williams piece, something that really hasn't been talked about enough, especially, like you said, what Brock Purdy did with and without Trent Williams. Now, Trent Williams is a 10-plus year vet, and I think he's someone that doesn't really need a full training camp to get in shape to do what he does best.
No.
But it still has to be concerning that he's not practicing and develop that cohesion with the offensive line in preparation of trying to defend their NFC title. I think this season, like you said, the season important for Brock Purdy, but also this is the season that's going to determine if Brock Purdy gets paid. He wasn't the first round pick, so he only has 4 years. So this is his third year of his deal. So he's eligible for a contract extension after this season. So they have to make a decision about paying him. You got to pay Brandon Ayuk. Debo's getting paid. McCaffrey's getting paid. Trent Williams wants to be paid more. So at some point, if you're going to keep Brock Purdy, you need him to develop more to make players around him better, because you're going to lose pieces around him once you pay him this deal. So it's important for Brock Purdy to establish that. And I was hard on Brock Purdy last year, more so because I thought it was the talent around him and not necessarily Brock Purdy that was leading this 49ers team. So he needs to show that progression. He needs to show, and I think it's in a weaker NFC. I'm not going to say weak, a weaker NFC. He has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, and he can show that. Will it be enough to get back to Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? We'll see, and we'll talk about that again next week. But they're going to be class in NFC again. I just think they have the weapons that are needed. They just have to figure out, can they get everyone at least this year to show up one more time in an attempt to win a Super Bowl?
I think that they had enough. Remember, they had a 10-point lead. The defense couldn't hold it. And remember, also, it was Debo who got hurt. Debo who fumbled that football. Like Brock Purdy put the ball in his hands. Like I can't catch it.
Fumble too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But I mean, and you look at that defense that you said couldn't hold the 10-point lead. They had the second best linebacker get hurt running on the field. Like
That's
it
true.
was
That's
a
true.
lot of stuff that went wrong for San Francisco.
That's true, man. I'm telling you, man, that boy Patrick Mahomes, boy, he got horseshoes all coming out everywhere, boy. And then they put the Taylor Swift curse on him too, man. There was no chance. Like it is what it is, man. 49ers, they should be defending champs in all. Look, I can't like I watched that game a couple times. I'm like, damn, how they lose? Now I bet the game, so of course I bet for the Chiefs because I'm not betting against Patrick
Mahomes.
So I was happy at the time, but I went back. I'm like, how did they lose this game? Like fumble. Oh, okay, that's how they lost. The Chiefs defense stepped up. Is what it is. But yeah, 49ers will be the class at NFC once again. Let's move on because we got a lot more to cover. Next team is the Detroit Lions. Starting quarterback Jared Goff, who has really found his resurgence in Detroit. Remember, a couple years ago, he was dealt from the Rams. Everybody thought he was done, considered dead in the water. But he's found a new home under Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, and they've done a phenomenal job. Our biggest offseason loss was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and that is CJ Gardner-Johnson. But he was a big time player for them, so that will be interesting how that will impact that back end for the Lions, whose defense really took a step forward last year. They lost DJ Reader, who was a big force on that defensive line. But outside of that, they really wasn't that many losses for this team. So they will be returning pretty much the same roster that really had a really great year for them last year. And I know this team has a lot of expectations on them. A lot of people are expecting them to take the next step. The expectations are rising. So that means now you got to go out there. Nobody's just looking just for you to win a playoff game here and there. They expect the NFC Championship game or more. And I think this team has some weapons that can get the job done. We talked here and there about Amar St. Brown, St. Brown, whatever his name is. And
St. Brown.
A couple more confidence in there.
Hopefully he'll get Jameson Williams back the whole year this time, so you get a compliment of the big receiver who they drafted a few years ago, who had to pay. He was out with a suspension. Then he had nagging injury. There was always something going on with the guy, but hopefully you get him fully back now. Sam Laporta, man, wow. Talk about a breakout star last year. Really was able to come out there and show that he's one of the best young tight ends in the league. But we'll see how he comes back this year, and they utilize him in that offense very well last year. I think he basically could have been one of the breakout stars last year. And Jahmyr Gibbs, really big-time player last year. So this team really has some playmakers, really developed young players. David Montgomery's going to be there backing him up. I really think this team has a lot going for it. I know a couple weeks ago I said that I'm not as high on Detroit as everybody else is. And I stand by that to a degree of I don't think they're going to the NFC Championship game. I think they'll be the class of the NFC North due to some of the things that have happened to the other teams. I know some people still like Green Bay. I'm not as high on Green Bay. Chicago, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. And I think Chicago and Detroit will be the class of this division. Minnesota lost that quarterback, unfortunately, basically tanked the season. So they're done. But between Detroit and Chicago, I think they will be the class of this division. I got Detroit finishing in first place, and they'll win a playoff game. I think they will win a playoff game. That's where I got it. Calvin, how you see the Lions?
So you got 3 teams making playoffs in this division?
Nah, I told you I had Detroit, and I said that Chicago will battle for a wild card. I didn't have Green Bay.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. This team, can they get accustomed to the expectations after they made the NFC Championship and were up 10 and went for it on 4th down, and that basically swung the game. You could have had a 13-point lead in the second half in San Francisco. You could have been punching your ticket to the Super Bowl at that point, but just the aggressive nature of Coach Dan Campbell kind of turned the tide in that game. One thing I'm watching
kneecaps.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. One thing I'm looking to see is if Jahmyr Gibbs will start the season. I know he had a hamstring issue in training camp, and he was doubtful initially for week 1. I think he's a big component of this offense, catching passes out of the backfield. He took David Montgomery's starting job, but he was just a beast when he came in last year in his limited touches. He should have got more touches, in my opinion. And then you have, like you said, you have Laporta, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams. This offense can be one of the better offenses in the NFC. Can Jared Goff continue to grow? We saw what he did in LA. Can he continue to grow? Can he continue to progress even though he's been a seasoned vet at this point? But look, I have high expectations for the Detroit Lions. I just wonder, can they get accustomed to the expectations, that they are the favorites to win? They've been the underdogs for so long. They've been down and out. They've been 0-16. They've been 1-15. Can they get accustomed to being the leaders in the division? Can they get accustomed to being one of the better offenses? Can they get accustomed to being the favorites each and every week? And I think that will determine whether they win the division or they're just a wild card and then just won down the playoffs. But I have high expectations for the Detroit Lions team. I think they're going to make some noise in the NFC.
Justin?
I hear what you said about Gibbs. I think he'll be okay. I think they need to give him the ball way often than what they did. They tried to, slow do it last year and try to ease him along, and then they started to give him more and more. But he's so dynamic that Montgomery should just be used in a short yardage goal line situation. It should be mainly Gibbs. Same thing with Atlanta and with Bijan. These two dudes are dynamic, and I'm here for every second of it. You guys said a lot, so it's not too much that you can really focus on too much. But I'm gonna focus on Jared Goff. Jared, I need you to throw for 5,000 yards this year. You have too many weapons on your team.
Do it.
He had 46. I need you to go for 5. I need you to feed Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, Gibbs, and everybody else on the team. Like you can do it. I need you to go for over 30 touchdowns. I need you to try to get 35, 40. This team can do it. This is the next step. You was talking about expectations and things like that. This is what I'm expecting. This is what a lot of people are expecting. We can't have the same old Jared Goff. Same old Jared Goff is 4,500 yards. Real good turnover ratio. But we need you to be a little bit better. You don't need to be at some of your parts. You need to make your parts better. And hopefully he can do that this year. Yeah, I think it's mainly on him more so than anybody else. You got the type of coach that's going to go for it on 4th down. We know that he's a riverboat kind of a dude, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You need to be better than your coach. You need to put your team in situations where you know what your coach can do. You know that he might have a tendency to lose a game for you. You got to take it out of his hand. Don't worry about it, coach. You ain't got to go for the 4th because I converted on 3rd. Those type of situations, it's all on Jared Goff when it comes to the Detroit Lions moving up into the championship, if not the Super Bowl.
Okay. We shall see. Let's move on to your team, and let's talk about Super Bowl or bust.
So I had this organized. It didn't save. I had it organized. Go ahead.
Oh Lord. God. It's all good.
It's not all good. It looks like I'm G League over here. It's not all good.
It's so fitting for the
like one long. It
don't matter. Starting quarterback, Baker Mayfield, shaking big baby. That's what it's about. Biggest all-season loss.
His name is Shake and Bake.
Carlton Davis and Devin White. Those guys will be missed. Those guys want to help win us a championship. Devin White saw reducing his role thanks to KJ Britt. But Carlton Davis was our starting cornerback, so we are depth-wise a little bit off from that. But with that being said, our biggest offseason addition was more so resigning everybody. We really wasn't going to have a team unless everybody else got re-signed. When I say that, Baker had to get re-signed. Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a walking Hall of Famer. He had to get re-signed. We could not let him go to other places, and we kept him in. So shout out to Mike Evans. All he does is give you 1,000 yards per year. Linebacker, we had to get Levante David back. You know, we're gonna keep signing him to 1 year deals until he retired. I'm okay with that. We need that leadership on defense. The left Tristan Wirth broke the record when it comes to left tackles, if I'm not mistaken. He needed his money because he is that good. And he just moved from right tackle to left tackle the season before. So this is all new, and he still dominated. So shout out to Tristan Wirth. And I didn't put up there, but Anton Winfield just got paid the most money out of the safety position ever. You know, so he's definitely a catalyst to our defense. And we just picked up rookie Graham Barton. The reason why I made sure I said his name is because that was our number one problem, was our offensive line, that we could not run the ball effectively. Rashad White had just amount of carries as Christian McCaffrey, but Christian had way better stats than my man White. That's because he was getting the ball and he was
into a wall.
Running into a wall. And if you remember, he brought up Detroit. We just talked about him. Unfortunately, that's the team that we lost to in the playoffs. And I still remember the last interception. The line of scrimmage collapsed, and Baker was running like he had a chicken in his head cut off. And then he threw an interception, and that was it for us. So with that being said, we needed to bolster our offensive line. And what do? You go get the best interior lineman that was in the draft, and then you pick him up. And he's already starting. He already got the nod, and he's doing well so far in the preseason. So that's what it's about. We need our running game to help support Baker Mayfield. The defense is going to be great. I'm not worried about the defense. Defense really held us down throughout the entire season. Is Baker shot the world. He wasn't expecting that type of season that Baker Mayfield had. People thought Mike Evans, they writ him off. He was done. He showed you he was still that dude. They're moving Chris Godwin over to the slot position. That's the position that he was when he shined with Jameis Winston and Tom Brady. So with that being said, I expect bigger things to him. I expect him to have a Jarvis Landry type of a season with Baker Mayfield. We got a new offensive coordinator that we took from the Rams back when Baker Mayfield was with the Rams, and he had a resurgence to his career. It was because he did good with the Rams a couple years ago when Matt Stafford got hurt. The fact that he got the opportunity to play for Tampa. So we brought over him too. We picked up a couple more receivers on the draft, and Sterling Shepard, we brought him along too. So we are definitely providing Baker with things that he needs in order for him to succeed. Now, can Baker win games? Baker can win games. Can Baker lose games? Baker can lose games. We just need we need to lose games. We just need that to be a little bit less than what it was last year. It was a little too tight. Atlanta is definitely better, and I'm not really worried about New Orleans. I know we had trouble against New Orleans, but I don't expect them to have a push for the season title like they did last year. It's all about Atlanta, and we just need to make sure that we're better than Atlanta.
Okay. Calvin,
number one in the division.
Y'all were 9-8 last year, correct?
Yes, we did.
Tied with New Orleans.
New Orleans, that's correct.
Who missed Alvin Kamara with suspension, I believe.
Okay.
No Mike Thomas, just Chris Olave. Well, Mike Thomas played. I believe he played like 10 games. I'll take that back. And with Derek Carr at quarterback, and you guys tied to the division.
What's the problem?
I'm talking about last year.
What's the problem?
The problem that I have is that you're relying on Baker Mayfield to take your team to heights that he's never seen before. We've seen him up close and personal in Cleveland.
Baker Mayfield is a playoff.
Atlanta is a more talented team. The only part of the argument that I agree with is the Mike Evans point. If only he was able to escape from Tampa and go to an organization that would better utilize his talent that padding to getting 1,000 yards.
There's no stat padding going on with Mike Evans.
That would have been the highlight of my offseason, especially with Kim to Dallas. That's a whole other situation. We ain't had no money. And we'll get to Dallas in a little bit. I'm not relying on Baker Mayfield to duplicate what he did last year. You just had your time to pick up your team.
Quarterback. I just want you to say that.
To big up your team. I'm not relying on Baker Mayfield to lead my team.
He is a playoff winning quarterback.
This is not Oklahoma. We are not playing Ohio State, and he's not going to carry some random flag in the middle of the field.
How many playoff wins does Dak have?
We're not talking about
Take
that.
it personal.
We are not talking about that.
I'm just saying.
We are talking about Baker
I'm just saying.
Mayfield. We are
That's
talking
all
about
I'm
Baker
saying.
Mayfield.
Baker
That's what we're
Mayfield
talking
is a
about.
playoff
They got
winning
the
quarterback.
same amount of playoff wins. They got the
Just
same
make sure you
amount.
say that. Just
got
make
the
sure
same
you
amount.
say that he's
They
a
got the same
playoff winning
amount.
quarterback.
They have the same amount of playoff wins.
Just make sure you say that. One's been in the league
Dak
longer.
has
too.
more regular
Just
season
make sure you
playoff
say that.
victories.
One's had a better team than the other one too. Just make sure you say
Dak
that.
has-
He's a playoff
Dak
winning
has
quarterback.
much
That's
better.
all. That's all I'm
Wait,
asking.
you're taking a playoff victory against the Eagles team in which you said they had internal turmoil, and you're
That's
using that
neither
to
here
big
nor
up your argument about why your
Neither
team's going to
here
be
nor
better this
there.
year? Is that what you're
That's neither
talking
here nor
about?
Neither here nor there.
Is that what you're talking about?
They had to put him out that misery. That's what they did.
My point being, I'm not relying on Baker
Right.
Mayfield. This team overachieved last year. I don't see that happening again with a better look. You know how much I talk about
How
Kirk
do you
Cousins.
overachieve when you
I'd rather
constantly win
take
the
Kirk
division title?
Cousins than Baker
How
Mayfield.
do you
That should
overachieve
let you
when
know
you are
what I
repeatedly
feel about
winning
Baker
the division
Mayfield.
title? I'm confused.
Excuse me? Because they won a tiebreak with New Orleans. Is that what you're saying?
That's
That
neither
New
here nor
Orleans
there.
team you said you're not
They
worried about?
won the division title 3 years straight. I
They
just want
won
to
a
make sure you
tie-
understand correct.
But they had Tom Brady for the first week. You don't count that. I'm not talking about Tom Brady. I'm talking about
Why
Baker
should I count that?
Mayfield. I'm talking about Baker Mayfield and what he's
Everyone
done,
was
what
on
he's
the bench.
not done. I'm sorry, I'm monopolizing all the time. You go ahead, Larry. Baker Mayfield. That's
Hey,
all
I
I need to
loved
say.
it.
That's all I need to say.
Hey, I love it. Get off the damn fence. I love it. Take a side. Hey, Justin, I give you all the credit in the world. You did your best to defend your team, who will probably, hey, they might win the division. Nah, they ain't. I got Atlanta. I got Atlanta. I don't like Carolina, and I don't like New Orleans. So Tampa will finish in second. I give them second. Should be fun, regardless. I think a wild card in the NFC ain't that hard to get. Regardless, they'll make the playoffs. We know that. Like you can make the playoffs 9-8, as we've seen. So
As they did last year.
yeah, congrats.
And won as well.
Next up.
Did this team win in the playoffs?
Next up, Calvin, tell us about your team, the Cowboys. How about the Cowboys?
Quarterback Dak Prescott. Not sure how much longer he's going to be there. You know, there's some inner turmoil there. Biggest offseason loss. I couldn't figure out who to name. Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, Tyler Bidaz.
Clearly not him because you can't even know. You don't even know his last name. Go ahead.
Well, I know he's the starting center, and he went to
Hey,
Buffalo, so I
just say the
expect
center, damn it.
I expect Josh Allen to have a better center, or Stephon Gilmore. Every one of those players was a starter last year. Every one of those contributed to a division-winning team, and every one of those players was a free agent and walked without a contract. Tyron Smith was cut. They walked without a contract offer from Dallas, who in the offseason, I couldn't figure out who was the best offseason addition. You know why? Because they only signed two, and I named them: Eric Kendricks and Ezekiel Elliott. That is all they did in the offseason, not counting undrafted free agents. I'm not counting those. I'm counting players that played last year that were free agents that came to the Cowboys. It was just these two players. You have Ezekiel Elliott, who was on your team 2 years ago, who you figure was over the hill, and you cut him and sent him to New England, and now he's back looking slower and older than ever. If you've watched any of Cowboys preseason, and you have Eric Kendricks, well, I'm not going to say he's a decent middle linebacker, but on the team filled with holes at left tackle, at running back, at center, with your cornerback as well, and now questions I have. What's the future for Dak Prescott?
Man, that deep breath felt like it hurt your soul. Go ahead.
How often do you have a quarterback that's not on a rookie deal? He's not on a rookie deal. That's on a second contract that reaches the end of his contract. You rarely, if ever, see this. You see these quarterbacks extended a year or two previously to extend the money to lighten the cap hit. Dak should have been signed a year ago. The price was cheaper a year ago. Now the price is doubled. A year ago, Lamar Jackson didn't have a contract. Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. The names go on and on. And now because you wait a year, because you procrastinate, because you think you can get some kind of discount for Dak, the price has gone up, and you have yet to sign your franchise quarterback. And you know what your response is? To say, I want to see more of Trey Lance in the third preseason game like he is the damn future starting quarterback of this team, or you're going to hope that somehow you finish in the top 5 in the draft to draft Shedeur Sanders. That is your damn game plan for the 2024 season. Why were the Cowboys more attractive in free agency? We know they needed a running back. Derrick Henry was from Texas. There was rumors that Derrick Henry was looking at houses in Texas, in Dallas, before coming to Baltimore. So why wasn't he made an offer? Why were there no contract offers made or free agent visits for anyone to come to Dallas and to add to the legacy of this team? Will we see CeeDee Lamb week 1? We haven't seen CeeDee Lamb all preseason. We haven't seen him in training camp. We know he wants a contract, and apparently he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver, even more than why am I blanking on his name in Minnesota right now? More than Justin Jefferson, thank you, in Minnesota. Once again, you could have signed CeeDee Lamb last offseason to an extension. The price was a hell of a lot cheaper last year before Justin Jefferson got his money. Now it seems to be he wants more money than him, but so does Jamar Chase. Who gets paid first? Who's going to make more money than who? And they're from the same draft class. These are the problems that we have in Dallas. When you don't have your starting quarterback signed beyond this year, your starting wide receiver, and you have 2 years left on arguably the best outside linebacker pass rusher in the league, and Micah Parsons as well. These are the problems that we have in Dallas. This is why I'm not picking this team to make the playoffs. This is why I'm so frustrated with this team, because the problems that we have and the ineptitude of the owner to think that he's the damn head coach, the GM, can make personnel decisions when the shit hasn't worked for the last 30 damn years. Almost said the F word, but I was able to control myself. I appreciate that. These are the questions that we have in Dallas. These are the problems that we have in Dallas. This is why I'm so frustrated with this damn team. I don't even know why the hell I'm going down there next month. I don't even know. Why? Why am I putting up with this? I'm about to become a Dolphins fan. It's frustrating.
Go ahead, Justin. Tell him.
So I just got one question. Is this all in for you? Pause. Because that's what Jerry said. He's going all in.
All in what?
This is what it looks like.
Deep.
No, this is not all in for me. No.
And that's when you're wrong, because this is what it is. All in means I'm going to tank all in on the season. I am going to start Trey Lance. I am going to pay him minimally, if not get a top pick. But I can't bank on that. I can bank on Trey being the quarterback. That can go. I need to sign CD. Yes, he's going to break the market. Yes, we know. I need to sign Micah Parsons. He's going to also break the market. I cannot do 3. I cannot do all 3. Something has to go. Dak is the one to go. That is him saying, I'm going all in to get rid of Dak. Can I give him the weapons that he deserves, because I need him to have a bad performance so I can maybe get rid of him. I can't get rid of him to the playoffs. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's going to look bad.
We had this conversation recently that how high or where do you think Shedeur would go in the draft? And I think he would go top 5 to 7. I can name 8 teams that are actively and will be worse than the Dallas Cowboys are this season.
Yeah,
there is no way that they can finish barring injury. There is no way they can finish with a good enough record or as bad. They can finish with a worse enough record to be in a position to draft the future quarterback of that team, barring injury, unless you're going to actively and blatantly and intentionally tank. And if that's the case, count me out.
Then you trade for Trey Lance?
Yes.
That's that guy. That's your guy. Hopefully he's better than Quincy Carter. That's your guy.
Quincy Carter got to the playoffs.
I know. Hopefully he's better than that. I'm not even making a joke.
Get there.
But this is it. This is the game plan. You can't do all 3. You got to pick them. You got to pick 2 out of the 3. That's the only way they're gonna get through. And the only way you're gonna make that happen is you sub. You gotta take a year. You can't do it. I'm sorry. We can't win everything. You had that bad season. Go ahead on to get a reins to Trey. Go ahead on, pay who you need to pay. And now you got way more money because you're paying Trey Lance and not Dak Prescott. And you can get some better talent and better pieces around him. And then y'all be back next year. This is not your year.
Yeah, I just think, me personally, I think they had enough talent to be good enough to compete regardless. Tony Pollard wasn't that great last year. I think he proved that he needed a solid number 2 behind him, or he needed to be a number 2, a thunder lightning situation. Again, going to get Zeke felt like a desperation, like maybe just throwing a bone. You know how Jerry loves his former players, and maybe he just took pity on. I felt he always had this affinity to Zeke anyway. That was kind of weird, but you know, that's what he does. You know, you lost Stephon Gilmore. I thought that was a big loss, and I think it will really be interesting to see. And I know a couple weeks ago when we discussed, you know, the cornerbacks for the Cowboys, we know that they get interceptions, and that is something that they definitely do. But when it come down to getting beat deep, we've seen both of them be susceptible to the deep pass. We've seen both of them looking in the backfield get hit with the double moves. DeRon Bland had a lot of interceptions for touchdowns, but is he a great cover guy? Exactly. Trayvon Diggs, I felt like he could be had. You know what I mean? So Gilmore, to me, was your most consistent and solid cornerback. So losing him, you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, so losing him, I think that's big. So defensively, their linebackers have not been good in a while. That's not new. Like, who have you done? Who have you gone out and gotten to help that linebacking core? Yeah, we know Michael Parsons and what they can do off the edges. But what about just knuckling down and playing some solid defense? I mean, I didn't see it, man. And then, look, hey, we know about the Cowboys. Traditionally, offensive line is where it starts. And you went out, spent the early round pick on offensive lineman. Great job. But you still did not address that linebacker position. And until that defense, you can kill. All that offense is great. I think y'all will be fine on offense. The defense will be the reason why this team, once again, doesn't go as far as they want. Because we seen them get ran over, and ran through. And nothing's going to change. So I think your outcome will be just similar, man, because you didn't address the real issue. And I think you make a great point. It wasn't, if you go get Eric Kendricks, sorry, he gonna get carried like a like, come on, man. He ain't that guy. He ain't. Yeah, it's sad, man. But hey, man, it's always next year. Moving on.
Been saying that for 30 years.
Yeah. Our final team tonight was the team that finished with the number 1 overall seed in last year's playoffs. And first of all, before we wrap this up, we've counted down from the worst to the best, and we've done it over the last several weeks. So thank you all for joining us and checking us out over the last several weeks. And this has been a fun countdown. We really appreciate all those loyal ones who stuck with us through and through. But we're going to finish this off with the team that, you know, we are in Baltimore, Maryland. And this team is near and dear to me and Calvin's heart. And I know, Justin, you hate us, but you enjoy Lamar. Stop it. Lamar Jackson is the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. In all season, our biggest loss, I believe you could list about maybe 4 or 5 guys, to be honest with you, maybe 6 or 7. Damn it, we lost a lot of people. Let's just be real. You go from being the number 1 overall seed in the whole entire NFL. In the offseason, you went out and lost. Let's count them down. Tyler Huntley, J.K. Dobbins, who was out with injury anyway, Gus Edwards, Odell Beckham Jr., Devin Duvernay. Here go your offensive line. Morgan Moses, Kevin Zeitler, John Simpson. Here go your defensive line. Jadeveon Clowney, Tyus Bowser, linebacker, Patrick Queen, Ronald Darby, Rock Ya-Sin, who never got his rightful due, and Geno Stone. Those are all the guys you lost in the offseason. In one offseason, and this was the number 1 overall seed. A lot of these guys were important to the depth of the team. We know this team has an injury history, so you go out and you lose it. You talk about who the Cowboys replaced these guys with. Here go the Ravens offseason acquisitions. Running back Derrick Henry, congratulations. We love that move in Baltimore. Yeah. You go get an offensive tackle in Josh Jones and a linebacker in Chris Board. That's the end of the list, guys. The Ravens.
Eddie Jackson too.
Anyway,
we got two totally different takes on this.
the Ravens are not going back to be the number 1 overall seed in this NFL season, in my humble opinion. They did not make the necessary adjustments, the necessary additions to make this team better on paper. The only way that this team will replicate the success of 2023, in my opinion, is if they change back to the offensive philosophy that has tried and true won for this team, and that is run the football. Derrick Henry was acquired to be the bell cow of the Baltimore Ravens. But we understand he's getting older. We understand there's a lot of mileage on those legs. So I'm not saying he needs to go out there and run the ball 35 times a game. You have a Lamar Jackson. You also want to keep him pretty clean. We don't know how long it will be before we see that young breakout running back from last year. Who his name is
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell, who we really loved, and he got hurt at the wrong time. But it wasn't early enough in the season where we can be like, he'll be ready now. But it was late enough where you're like, when will he be ready?
Say that again.
You ain't got no love for Justice Hill?
Anyway, so we gotta really see. Like, I like Justice Hill, I really do, and I thought he showed himself to be a good player. But Keaton Mitchell was special. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Keaton Mitchell was that guy, I love Zay Flowers and everything he showed. Mark Andrews was in a car accident. He hasn't practiced. We don't know how long that'll be. But that was the same issue with Mark Andrews last year. We didn't know when he would be available, when he wouldn't be available in that lineup. How would they use all the rest of the weapons? That we don't know. And the offensive philosophy is different. Also, we lost our defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald is in Seattle. I don't like what I've been seeing in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but just from a philosophy, or does it show me anything? I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed yet. Hopefully, when the season starts, I'm proven wrong. I like the addition by subtraction, getting rid of that bum Patrick Queen. Great move. Sensational. Let him walk. Don't pay him nothing. But I need to see, will Marlon Humphrey be able to stay healthy? What our defensive back end will look like? Will Bateman stay healthy? Everybody, I have so many questions about health with this team. And I've covered everything I'm going to want to cover from now. Offensive line is the number one issue. Who is going to protect Lamar? I have no faith in Ronnie Stanley. I don't.
Really? Okay.
None. You know that already. His availability is questionable at best. Then you lose a Zeitler, who was one of the best linemen we had. It just pisses me off. I'm very. And then at the end of the day, this is not about the regular season with this team anymore. This is about what are you going to do when the lights are the brightest and it's time to push the chips to the middle of the table and bring home the bacon. And Lamar Jackson has proven that moment gets a little too bright for him thus far. Am I saying he can't get it done? I'm not saying that. But I need to see it to believe it. And he played like hot garbage. That unacceptable interception he threw in the end zone, are we going to excuse that away? The other one he threw, are we going to excuse that away out of frustration? He played dumb. Yes, we should have ran the ball more, But when you got a guy like that, I shouldn't have to say, "Oh, we should have been running anyway." If I got a quarterback who's that great, he shouldn't be making those dumb mistakes with the football. I got a lot more, but I'm gonna let you get in. Calvin, you're a Ravens fan. Get your thoughts in.
You want to go, Justin? I don't want.
I'll go. All right. I think I got a little bit more optimism for this team. I do think they're going to make another playoff run. You need to give Lamar a little bit more freedom here, because what he's shown to do is to get better year in, year out. You knock him out first round in the playoffs, he takes it to the next level. Then he takes it to the next level. And now he went to the championship game. I truly believe he can. I don't know if he will, but he definitely can take it to the Super Bowl next. They were a half away. They literally were a half away. And yes, we all know y'all needed to run the ball. We get that. We're not even stressing on that. But let's talk about this year, right? And you bring up a lot of good points. You did lose a lot of good pieces, but y'all have a tendency to make a good offensive line, at least a solid offensive line. Defenses are always going to be playing on their heels anyway because of Lamar Jackson, period. They can't fully rush. So you're not even getting the team's best pass rush or run stop because they're playing behind anyway. They're playing reactive off of Lamar. And thirdly, the fact that let's just say Bateman has been performing well so far out of camp. That's what we're hearing, right? He's actually connected with Lamar a little bit more. Zay Flowers is still there. Zay Flowers is doing what Zay Flowers do. I think the whole thing is how innovative your offense can be. I said this before, and I will continue saying it again. I wish that y'all would have found some way to pick up Josh McDaniels and just let him rock out as an OC. I doubt that would have happened.
I like Monken. I ain't gonna do that.
I say that to say he uses every weapon that he has at his disposal. I do not want to see Mark Andrews play them all downs, and then Mark Andrews goes out, and here comes Isaiah Likely.
I agree with that. You need to utilize both of them at the same time.
They both need to be out there. They should be running trips at times. If you tell me that you have Likely, Bateman, and Flowers all on one side of the field with Andrews on the other side with Derrick Henry in the backfield, that is a very tough offensive style. They will be in their own way if that's the case. So that's why I say, I'm very optimistic on this offense if it's creative. I really need y'all to be creative this year. I don't want to see you. Now you said just go back to the running game and all that stuff. That's so vanilla that y'all can do that. I don't want you to forget about it because you still got a Patrick Ricard. You still got probably the only fullback in the league. So you still use that.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I would say one.
You still line up both tight ends on both sides, and you just pick a side and just use Derrick Henry. I'm not knocking none of that stuff.
That was our original offense when 2019, and when we won all them damn games.
You had Andrews and Hurts.
Wasn't here when I just said I just want y'all to be a little bit more innovative when it comes to using Isaiah Likely. I don't want him subbing for Mark Andrews. I want him to be on the same field, opposite side, sometimes the same side. Be creative so that people don't know what's going to happen.
Lamar's greatest success was when we had triple tight ends on the field. One was a blocker. You had two receiving tight ends in 2019, and that wasn't who was the offensive coordinator that year?
No, it wasn't Kubiak. It was still
Roman. It was Roman.
Yeah,
it was Roman. Yeah, triple tight. Yeah. But it was more of run-based offense, but it was a run option because you ain't know if he's going to keep it or throw it. Yeah. And when you got the tight ends in middle field and you have Hollywood on the outside, you didn't know what to guess. So anyway.
And that's similar to what I want now. I want to have the defense be reactive when it comes to Lamar Jackson. If he's going to take it, he can take it. If he needs to hand it off, he can do that and all those things. We get all those things. I'm not going to talk about the defense too much because I think the offense will be the key this year. I think you guys can put pressure on anybody that y'all play against long enough. Y'all can stall it out and just drag it if you need to. You have that option at your skill set. So it really depends on the pride and ego of Lamar Jackson. This is my thing. I think that he went into the last playoffs saying, I'm going to out quarterback Patrick Mahomes. because he always says it in press conferences and stuff like, not bad for the running back, right? He lets you know y'all doubting me in playing this quarterback position. And the problem with Harbaugh is he's a player's coach. Matter of fact, Lamar, as y'all know, Lamar Jackson saved his job. He was about to get fired. So with that being said, he's going to back Lamar. So if they came up with a game plan of I'm going to do most of the throwing, most of the offense was going to run through me only, then sometimes you got to say no. If he's calling plays on the line of scrimmage and not going with the original play, that's a problem, right? If it's not open. So I just think that sometimes Lamar needs to realize who he is. Don't be afraid or ashamed of who you are, and actually perform in the playoffs, and he'll be a better player.
Yeah, I'm leaning more to the optimistic side of the season. One thing that I know don't necessarily agree with, everyone talks about the offseason losses, and this team had so many offseason losses, you thought they won the Super Bowl. They had a type of offseason which after you win the Super Bowl, everyone wants to get paid, and then everyone leaves to go get paid and goes to other teams. But with this team, I think it's a little bit different because when you talk about a Geno Stone, and you talk about a Patrick Queen, I can make the argument that the people that replace them will be adequate or even better than what they did. We saw Patrick Queen pre Roquan. We know Geno was only playing because Marcus Williams was hurt, and now we have Eddie Jackson, who is I think it's a better cover safety. He's just coming off injury. So I think in most of the losses, personnel wise, the person that is replacing them can do their job and potentially has the potential to do it better.
But you're hurting your depth. You're hurting your depth.
You're right. Tylan Wallace has the ability to replace Devin Duvernay. Outside the O-line, and the O-line, I'm even more optimistic because we have a Ronnie Stanley who decided to void his contract and go into free agency after this season. So I think he will play more help. He'll be more willing to play beat up because he wants to have one more payday. After we talked about him, that maybe he should retire. If he still wants to go through this, I think he wants one more payday, and someone will pay him if he has a decent season because he is a left tackle and because there's such a commodity in the AFC or in the NFL period. This offensive line struggled so much last year that we went back and forth about what can be done to improve it. And they had these turnstiles at offensive linemen, where you rotated Stanley and Moses and Makari each series to try to keep them healthy.
That's true.
If you felt as though they were too old or they weren't performing to your ability, then you had to get rid of them. Now, albeit you didn't want to lose all three of them, and you didn't want to lose your best one in Zeitler. But you had to pay him an amount in which you couldn't afford, albeit you had to sacrifice the other positions. Most likely, I'm assuming that means you couldn't sign Derrick Henry. So I'm assuming you had to pick one of those two. I like the Voorhees addition. He was basically an individual that he was hurt going at the combine, and this is his second year, but it's his second year in offense. But he's a rookie. I like that. I like him stepping in. I like the right tackle from Washington. I think basically he was Michael Penix's blind side. I think that has the ability to be something that he can benefit from as well, because now he's a front side tackle for Lamar. I do like some of the addition. Now, this is the point where you have to make a decision on Cleveland. You have to make a decision on Makari, who's basically your do everything offensive lineman. Now, you're correct. You're losing depth at that position. I agree. But once again, and this is kind of going to sound contradictory, I think if Lamar is healthy and upright, he can win you football games where you're lacking in certain positions.
Well, if you sacrifice your offensive line,
I said it's going to sound contradictory. I agree, but that's my point when it comes to Omar and his offense and the losses. When it comes to Zach Orr, we'll have to see what he does. But he's been in his organization for 10 years?
Yeah,
he played here for 4 or 5 years. So I think he's taken enough from McDonald to know, at least to know what to do, at least essentially until he's able to develop a rapport of his own. Now, I'm not happy that his first test was Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'll say that I may pick them because of the early season struggles of Kansas City, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I think this team has shown enough, and with the piece around them, they still have their best 4 or 5 players. You still have Roquan, you still have Lamar, you still have Kyle Hamilton, you still have Mark Andrews. So you didn't lose necessarily those guys. You lost their backups. So I think if you can develop backups and if you can stay healthy, which is the key for everyone, you still have a chance to win. Now, do they have a first place schedule? Yes. Do they play on a Saturday and then follow that up by playing on a Wednesday late in the season? Yes. The NFL didn't do any favors with their schedule. The NFL didn't do any favors with the rest that they have. So they have a lot of chips stacked against them. However, I still think if you have a top tier quarterback, you can win more games than you will lose them, and he can win games for you. That's the only thing that I'm taking into this offseason and into the season with the Baltimore Ravens.
Go ahead, Justin. I take an issue with so much. Like, we just gloss over what Lamar does sometimes, and it pisses me off. I love Lamar Jackson. This is not against him as a person or what he's done overall in the regular season. What is the overall outlook? Where do we see this team going? Do you got them winning the Super Bowl this year, Calvin? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing if that's not where we going? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? You say probably not.
Probably not.
They won in the division. They're gonna lose again in the AFC Championship game or divisional round this time. Like, what are we doing? It just bothers me. Like, if he's that guy, why do we hold everybody else to this standard of they need to win the Super Bowl? They need to win the Super Bowl. But like, I heard a discussion the other day about who has the more disappointment in the playoffs, Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. I heard a little bit of
I think that's a comparison.
I've been avoiding ESPN, but I did hear a little bit of that. I'm like, man, when you look at it, Dak got a bigger, larger body of work because he's gotten there more. Maybe he's been healthy more. I don't know. But Calvin, let me throw that to you. You're a fan of both teams. Who's had a better playoff career? Who's had more playoff success or bigger disappointments?
I think Lamar's had more success because Lamar's had more success and more disappointments. I think they're both on him. I think the fact that Lamar has tried to change his game to prove the doubters wrong at that specific time just says that he's not exactly ready to just do what needs to be done to win as of last year.
Okay.
But however, they've been the number one seed twice. They've had home field advantage twice throughout the playoffs, and they lost at home both times. You know, now I will say, were some demons exercising in that Houston game? Yes, because you know the first half that wasn't looking too good as well, and Lamar and that offense took over in the second half, and the defense shut them out as well. But that kind of swung the tide in what your favorite and thinking of this team in the postseason was. So both things can be true, and I think both things apply to this team.
So we got Lamar has 2 postseason wins, correct? Tennessee and
Tennessee and Houston, yes.
1 on the road and 1 at home.
And 3 losses.
He lost to
Buffalo. We lost to
Tennessee at home.
Tennessee, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
I'm sorry, man.
I'm not counting the year before he was hurt. So
it's not enough. It's not enough. Oh, he lost the Chargers.
2-4. You're right. That was a rookie year.
Yeah.
2-4 and what, 6 years? It's going on 6 years?
He came out in 2018.
6 or 7.
No, this is year 7. You're going into year 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see. I just think if you're going to be a 2-time MVP, the expectations go higher, man.
And that's what it is. That's what it is. He's a victim of his own success.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he wins another MVP until he has, I don't want to say wins the Super Bowl, but he has more playoff success. I don't think he wins another MVP. I think it's, you got to do this first now because I don't want to say we've crowned you, but we've awarded you this best player in the league twice. And subsequently, nothing has come of it in the playoffs.
He got to win.
And I don't want to hear from fans talking about, we not getting no respect if we have a good record later this year. Just be like, we got a good record, and now we got to go finish the job because who cares? Nobody's going to respect you if they feel like you choke in the playoffs. They want to see what you're going to do in the playoffs. Like, people still right to this very moment of picking the Bengals. They picking Joe Burrow over you. You know what I mean? Like, off of a small body of work. That's ridiculous to me. And Lamar is clearly proving more than them, but just off of the fact that, like you say, he made a Super Bowl. When he got his opportunity in the AFC Championship game, he cashed it in, and he beat Kansas City. So
in Kansas City,
it's just frustrating, man. Go ahead.
This is going to sound like a stupid question. No, I can't even. I already know the answer.
But
what do you?
Your lips.
I was going to say, what is it? Is the only way the Baltimore Ravens have a successful season if they win a Super Bowl, in your opinion?
Yes.
No, I think you can get to the Super Bowl. If you can get to the Super Bowl and you lose a tight game at the end to maybe the 49ers, somebody who has been right on the edge. I think it can be.
I just saw you dismantle them on Christmas at home, so you can't lose to them.
But my point is,
I'm just saying specifically to your San Francisco point.
No, I think San Francisco is the only team that can be. I don't think it can be Philly. I don't think it can be Detroit. You can't lose to Detroit. You know what I mean? It has to be a 49ers team who has been on the edge of getting over that hump and has just as many expectations to win. But if you lose to a team that came out of nowhere and you supposed to be, and you get there, you better win.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I disagree with that statement because it can't be San Francisco, but go ahead, Justin.
No, I just think that once you get there, you win.
You gotta win.
We tend to forget about who lost in Super Bowls. It's a revisionist history. So no, you can't lose in a Super Bowl.
Who's the most famous loser in Super Bowl history? The Buffalo Bills, because they did it 4 years in a row.
I mean, that's not one specific team. I think that stands like they won 4 years in a row. I don't think that's one.
That's what I mean.
Team.
Like,
I would argue with if it's not
Tom
that specific situation, I would say it's Seattle just because of how they lost.
That's another one. It's how you lose. Yeah. What if the Ravens lose because of a controversial call or something happened?
If they lose because of John Harbaugh indirectly, like in that, I mean, I don't think that situation would occur because I don't think John Harbaugh would specifically say call this type of play, like kind of like what Pete Carroll did. So I don't think it would be, but it's something similar.
People say I defend Harbaugh too much, but what I'm gonna say is, I'm a players guy. I think players determine way more about wins and losses than necessarily a coach do. So when players don't perform up to what their standard is, and I can clearly see that, that's what I'm going to turn to first before I say, well, the coaches didn't do this and that. Yes, we can all agree we didn't run the ball enough in the second half of last year.
Somebody plays at a lot of scrimmage.
Agreed. So somebody could have changed the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, I still think at some point the head coach got to say, "No, I'm calling. We need to run the football. Like, don't. This
won't happen to Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning lost a lot. Trust me, I was a Colts
fan. He ain't gonna go run six times in a championship game.
He actually did, and they won a Super Bowl against Chicago. But
that's Super Bowl.
I'm just saying. We'll see, man. I just, it's hard for me to just give Lamar a pass. I'm not. He better win, man. He got his money. Remember, he wanted to get paid. And some of the people we lost, we don't have no whole lot of money. Our cap situation is crazy. Like, we didn't pay no big time receivers. We didn't add nobody.
Yes, the cap situation gets better, has potential to get better after this season.
Good.
So I think it's.
And then when y'all not sign Kyle Hamilton, because he's going to break the market too.
He's not eligible until after the season, and so this is after year 3. But you figure he's going to get a fifth year option. So he's here 5 years. This is year 3 for him, so he can't sign an extension until after this year. But after this year, Hamilton comes off the books. Stanley comes off the books. Now you can choose to re-sign them. That's up to you. But that cap figure right there is about $35-40 million for those two.
Not Hamilton.
I'm sorry. I said Stanley and Humphrey. I said Hamilton.
Stanley and
Humphrey.
That's my problem. They should have got somebody to replace him. I'm not a huge Marlon fan. He's falling off.
They did get someone to replace him. That's why they got Nate Wiggins.
Well, I get, but Nate, I think he hurt. Did he get hurt in this last game?
He got hurt the first preseason game.
Has he bounced back? You heard anything?
He didn't say he'll be ready for the regular season. That's what they said.
Okay. He I could say a lot, but I won't. But yeah, we'll see how everything go. I like how Walker looked as well. Did you see the couple plays he made?
Yeah, I mean, I look, the defensive backs had the potential to be the best group in the NFL. Where you have Stevens, Wiggins, Humphrey,
Ooh,
Eddie Jackson, Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, I said, ooh, Stevens.
Oh.
Yeah, he got better
Eddie,
last year. I give him credit.
He's gotten better. Brandon, Humphrey, Hamilton, Jackson, Marcus Williams. They have the
Your
potential
boys
to
doing
be
pretty
deep.
good in the preseason too.
Say that again.
Adawe, how you pronounce his name? Adawe, the lineman, defensive lineman, defensive man.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, but
Ajabo?
No, you're not talking about Ajabo, are you?
Maybe he was hurt. Who was hurt last year?
Ajabo was hurt. I thought you were talking about
playing this year, right?
I didn't see him.
He played last week.
Okay,
Right.
I wouldn't even look
He
past
played
it.
pretty
last
good.
week.
He played pretty good.
Yeah, I
Y'all
wouldn't
waiting on
the
him to do
game.
something too.
Okay. He better play good. They let Jadeveon Clowney go thinking he would be able to step up this year.
I don't think they let you see. I don't think they let Jadeveon Clowney go. I think for whatever reason he wanted to go play closer to home in a situation where they're not going to win. Now I'm assuming I haven't heard anything that said the money wasn't even or wasn't equal in both places. So I'm assuming it was equal, it was close. He wanted to go home, quote unquote, North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever. So does that mean he's not a trade candidate? I think it's just a 2-year deal. Does it mean he's not a trade candidate? Don't know, but he's not going to win there.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree with that. So
it's like, why wouldn't you stay here? You was doing good. You was flourishing in the system. Good
you got his
camaraderie.
reasons. His reasons were family related. But
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, man. It's the Ravens, man. We'll see. We're gonna talk about them plenty more.
You want to talk about them a couple weeks? They play in a couple weeks. The first game of the season.
Yeah, we'll be getting to wrap this up, but we want to touch on one more topic before we get out of here with football related, and that's this topic that you both shared with me. This, I'm like, what? So the Olympics are coming in 2028 to Los Angeles, and flag football is going to be an Olympic sport. Is an Olympic sport, and will be. Some players who want to be in the Olympics in their home country from the National Football League who feel like, hey, why don't we sign up? We could play some flag, get out there, represent our country, yickety yickety. And some of the players, one in particular, Darrell Doucette, he really took umbrage with that thought that, we bust our ass to be the best of the best. And, y'all think y'all can just come and disrespect our game. His quote is, I think it's disrespectful. They just automatically assume that they're able to just join the Olympic team because of the person that they are. They didn't help grow this game. So they feeling disrespected. Their players from the pros thinking they going to come and just come into flag football just because it's an Olympic sport. And they would just jump right in and supersede the players who grew the game to become an Olympic sport. And, a lot of people were chuckling at this one. Justin, when you first saw it, what were you thinking?
I'm not, to a certain degree, he's right. To play flag football, it does take a different skill set.
I agree.
Your whole life you've been practicing tackling, and now you got to go for a flag. Something that you played Pro Bowl, you're not really serious about it. These dudes, the ones that really play 3-on-3 flag, like they really have an art form to get in this stuff, how to avoid tackles and things like that. With that being said, you can't tell me that if they was that nice, they'll be playing in another league.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
My pro something.
So that's what I would do. I would get maybe some people from the XFL. I know they're doing a merger and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just say, hey, go ahead on and compete with them. We can use you to help grow our league. In a sense, right?
I agree with that.
And that's what I would do. That's the first thing I thought of. I say the same thing about basketball. The NBA players should not play 3-on-3, but you have a Big 3 league. Maybe some of them dudes can play. That kind of a thing. So
I had
It's just not. I'm not worried about NFL. But yes, if Justin Jefferson said, "Hey man, in 4 years, see me in LA,"
Put me on.
Tyreek Hill say that.
Justin Jefferson is going to be on that team. Like you're not going to, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
I don't know.
I
Ain't no
respect him
Caitlyn
for
on
being
the
a man and
basketball
standing
team.
10 toes down, but I'm sorry, sir. Go have a seat.
I agree with what you're saying. I respect it. I'm not trying to take a shot at anybody, but if why would I have the equivalent of why would I have Millsap, Al Jefferson, Paul Millsap, and Reggie Evans play in the Olympics if I can get Braun, KD, and Steph? It's not a comparison. I'm not trying to downplay it or to take shots at you, whatever you may feel. But if like you said, if Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill or Josh Allen or whoever wants to play for Team USA in this competition in LA, they're getting personnel for me. I understand what you're saying. You feel that you put the work in. If that's the case, let's have some sort of Olympic trials like we have for track. Let's do that. Let's put this out there that way. But this is the equivalent of saying let's have regular people perform Olympic games. In my opinion, like you want to go swimming, you want to run track, you want to do hurdles. That's all I'm saying.
Hold up. So I expected you to be like, nah, man, these guys work hard for this position. We can't just jump in. What are we doing it for TV ratings or da? No. These are guys who earned their position. Ain't that what you did with the WNBA and the Olympic women's team? With Caitlin Clark, we said she would bring eyes to the game. She would make it a bigger deal. You said
I never mentioned anything about ratings. I mentioned everything about winning. I never said anything about ratings.
So these guys might be the best they would win. They would win. What's wrong with them? They the best at flag football. That's their sport. That's what they practice all the time. How do we know that Tyreek Hill and the rest of these guys would be just as good as what these people are at flag football?
You're really making this argument?
I'm just following your logic.
You don't believe it yourself.
I don't believe that shit. I'm just saying that's what I assumed you to say because that's your mindset when it comes to the other stuff.
You were completely mistaken.
Pathetic. Stand on you know you wrong about that Caitlin Clark stuff. Anyway, these are niggas. Excuse me, these guys. Get them out of here.
I'll get you.
I'm sorry. What? Get them out of here. Like, when we going to the local recs, like, we used to play flag every Wednesday night out Free State. We wasn't going, you're not going to the rec leagues to get the guys to play flag football and put them in the Olympics, are you? Like, stop it. Stop. No. If the best of the best, it's already bad enough football not represented in the Olympics. So you telling me there's a form of football that they're going to put in the Olympics? Why wouldn't you go take the best of what we have to represent our country and put them in there? It's the off season. Yeah, this is stupid. I'm sorry. It's like, how do you defend that? He's a fool. But yeah, we running late tonight, so we're gonna wrap this one up. This has been a fun show, man. So before we do get out of here, as always, I toss it around the room. Any final thoughts from the fellas? Justin, you got anything tonight?
Yeah, we just displayed high IQ, and this is entertainment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know where you went. All right. It's almost midnight. Go ahead.
Look, I'm looking forward to this football preview show next week. Football is officially back, and fantasy draft starting. I guess at this point you shouldn't see any starters. So, a couple combined practices coming up. One for the Ravens. They go to Green Bay this week, so hopefully you'll see some good things from there. But football season's officially back at this point, and so is college football. I think even more so.
Man, we gotta get
first year
of
the what is it? 12-16 team bracket. What is it? 12 or 16? 12. First year for that as well. Which and then basically it's just 3 divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Just the SEC, ACC, and
it's crazy, man.
Big Ten basically now. Mm-hmm. So when you see like USC and when USC playing Maryland in a division game, it's just crazy now. But Yeah, football is back, so that's going to dominate the programming for the next months.
This was an all football show just tonight, and we went a long time. Other than, of course, talking about that 5 and 100, which was great to kick off the show. Really appreciate that. So if anybody missed that at the beginning show, go back to the beginner's recording, learn more about that because it's a great program. We got some good information about it. I'm definitely going to try it out starting next week because Justin gets married this weekend. So I want to make sure I, imbibe and enjoy myself. But starting next week, though.
He's blaming you for his lifestyle. You realize that, right?
But congratulations to Justin once again, my man, tying that knot, walking that aisle this week. So next time you all see us, he will be a honest fella. You know what I mean? A married man. Look at that.
Damn sure wasn't on before.
Yes, sir. Any final words from the Bachelor? Any final words?
How did I get life?
On that note, thanks for tuning in tonight. And we'll see you next week right here on Get Off the Damn Fence.